live from the Drew Estate Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome to the Spare Notes series with your hosts, Matt Tabacco and William Cooper.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the I almost said the other show, the Spare Notes series. My name is Matt Tabacco from SmokingTobacco.com, and I am joined once again by my very good friend, Mr. William Cooper of cigar-coop.com. And he is live from Indian Trail, North Carolina on the Black Stage. I'm here at the Drew Estate Cigar Studios here in Boston, Mass. And Coop, this is a very cool show. It's a very special show.
Absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely. I even brought a special cigar tonight. Yep.
Good. I have two. I get two very special cigars from perhaps my two favorite manufacturers. Probably two manufacturers that, on a personal note, as much as try to be unbiased as media, but I also have a non-media side to my cigar smoking, and there's a few manufacturers who I'm close with, who have great relationships with, and people who I care about and consider family. And there's two manufacturers that really stand above the rest, and I have a cigar from each of those manufacturers here tonight that will represent my celebration of my daughter being born. And here we are. Spare Notes.
Absolutely. Very good. Congratulations. Yeah, and by the way, it's okay that you have your favorite brands. Tony Romo can root for teams like on the NFL broadcast, and that's okay, right? So, I'm the first person to get on fanboy stuff. Don't get me wrong, but in the end, everyone is going to have a personal opinion, and Tony Romo does it every week, rooting for the Cowboys. So why not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sometimes you just have to, and
yeah. It's okay. I mean, it's like I said, I'm the first one to get on a fanboy, believe me. But this is not a fanboy. If you have a preference and over the years built a relationship, there's nothing wrong with that.
I had to grab some extremely special stuff too, and both of these manufacturers can swing that. So I went into the special stash, and I tried to find something really special and meaningful, and I have that here. So, with me tonight, I have La Flor Dominicana Andalusian Bull and the Fuente Opus X 20th Anniversary God's Whisper. And those are the two cigars I'm going to have with me tonight.
I almost went with the 20th, but I smoked today. That one I don't like to have. I like to have that one on clean palate. But I went with my other favorite Opus X. This is the Opus X Oro Oscuro in the Chateau de Fuente. Yeah. This is the Chateau de Fuente size.
Great size, great blend.
This is one of my favorites. And I was gifted these actually from Carlito. I got a box in the mail for my birthday actually. So these are very. I don't know. You just I remember, and that was when he signed the box and everything for me. It was.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that whole thing that happened with the box? Yeah, I guess they had a problem with the signature. But yeah, so this is and from that box, this is this is one of my favorite derivations of the Opus X. So the 20th and the Oroscore, you just there's. I don't think I really had an Opus X I don't like. So I mean, I really could go most of them that are out on the market. So I didn't have any Angel Shares. Angel Shares a nice one. Obviously, I don't have any more. I gotta get more of them. I'm out. I'm out. Jose, send me some.
Jose, send me some.
I'm holding on to cigars for Jose. Right? It's funny. Yeah. There's no Angel Share, man. But I was like, if he has a couple of Angel Shares now, I'll get him and replace him, right? But no, there's not.
Well, Coop, those are very special cigars. I mean, yeah, I just don't have those hanging around.
When Pete Johnson did the Jose imitation the other night on your show,
dude, I was like,
was that money?
Shit.
Was that money?
That was money in the bank.
He had him nailed down.
That was just, I wasn't ready for that. I was like, I choked. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, if you didn't see Matt's interview with Jose, which and then was followed by Pete and Abe, Pete goes into a Jose Blanco voice, which is just epic. I've never seen him do anything like that before.
Which, by the way, I just want to address this on a serious note real quick. I appreciate Jose. He did have to leave early on this week's show. because Jasper was sick and needed medical attention. Jasper is okay. Jasper's going to be fine. So don't nobody worry. I have spoken to Jose. Jasper's going to be just okay. For those who were wondering, because people have asked.
Yeah.
Jasper is just fine.
Yeah.
And
I asked too. I spoke to him as well. Yep.
And thank you to Pete and Abe for coming on as quickly as they did and giving me the time that they did. I really appreciated that. That was
absolutely.
But yeah, other than that, it was a great show.
Jose was thrilled. I mean, he was having a ball. I mean, he had to put his priorities were in the right order. But he was very happy with that show. 'Cause I did speak to him. I called him to see if everything was okay. I'd watched it on delay, and I'm like, holy cows. So, so I called them, and they were already back. Everything's fine with Jasper, so it's all good news. It was more of, I think, precautionary. Get him some medical attention just in case, so.
Yeah, and he will be okay. But after that, Pete had a little bit of fun at Jose's expense, but that was okay. That was a good time. Jay Davis, I'm surprised. I had figured you for an LFD cigar and a Room 101 cigar. Listen, I love Matt to death, but I picked what I picked for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And I want to keep most of those to myself. So,
But
I do have an LFD with me, so I don't know what I'm talking about because there is an LFD here. There's an LFD and a Fuente. I have both of them here. So.
Yeah, I have the rare wedding cigars that I had made for my daughter, and I have like a few of them left. I'm holding them back for a grandchild.
Nice.
I have like 3 left, right? I had 2. I found the third one, and my son-in-law has got a few of those as well. And I had those from Phil Zengi made, and it has a picture of my daughter and son-in-law on the band. It really is the Debonair Maduro Toro. It's really the same blend, but what happened is, it was too strong for the guests. That cigar.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good cigar, but I said, I can't give this out to them. It's too strong. What am I thinking? So I gave it to friends and family at the time of the wedding because it just made more, people could go to a wedding. It was a way to share it with them. And then it kind of built a little bit of a cult following for a while. People were asking me how to guess. It's the Debonair Maduro. I said, there's nothing different about this, right? So that kind of all worked itself out. And then I brought an assortment of cigars like Romeo and Julietas to the wedding people, and I gave the bridal party. I gave them David of Nicaragua. The box packs you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 4-pack. I gave each of them those, and the groomsmen like blown away how good a cigar I was giving them. So.
Yeah, I have some cigars being put together for this occasion, and
I imagine you did. Yep.
And I told the person who was in charge, I said, I want to do something on the milder side with this kind of tobacco and this kind of tobacco, because I like it. I think it's flavorful, and I like mild stuff too. But also, if I end up giving these to some people who don't regularly smoke, I don't want to give them, dark Maduros with Olejero.
Absolutely the right call. Absolutely the right call. Because I learned the hard way. You can't make a cigar that you like. You have to make a cigar that people are gonna like. In this case, right?
Right.
But it did serve a purpose for me having that stronger cigar because I was able to give it to people who were cigar smokers. Which it worked. Well, my friends, because when my daughter got married, we let them control. We did let them control their own guest list. I wrote the check, right? But I said, this is not about me inviting my friends. This is you invite who you want. There was a couple of our friends that they invited, but it was very select. So most of my friends didn't get to go to the wedding. And it was already so that was kind of a way I could share with them on that. So, but I would have went mild. If I have to ever do this again, it's gonna be milder. It's gonna be a much milder blend. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, you got to think about other people, and those cigars are going to be probably shared with some people too. So,
yeah,
and it's not just going to be cigar people I know who could smoke whatever I give them. I mean, there's going to be some people who don't normally smoke. Who are like, oh, I want one of those, and it's like, yeah, here you go, and I can give it to them, and I don't have to worry about shit, this is too much. They can enjoy it and be done with it, and whatever it is they want to do. But, which I still don't have yet, but that's okay. They should be coming in soon. And
yeah,
I'll unveil those.
There's plenty of time to do that. Yeah.
She's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Exactly. But no, they'll that's I wasn't into like when my kids were born. I wasn't into the premium cigars piece at all. So it was a wedding. I really went to it with the wedding piece for the first time.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking one thing here. My phone's being really weird today. Oh, there it goes. Okay, sorry. And I have to turn off my sound. Because I just realized my sound was like low enough that it wasn't blasting, but like just enough right. I'm like, oh shit, this is still playing. Sorry, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. But yeah,
cigars.
no, and it's true. You know, I've had the honor of receiving special occasion cigars that people have made. You know, private band stuff, or you know, stuff that's been for people's weddings or anniversaries or birthdays, or a lot of different stuff that I've acquired over. And most of the time, you know, it's Habano, Connecticut Shade, you know, no Maduros, you know, no Corojos, or you know, I don't know, just nothing extravagant. It's usually common stuff, mild, medium, you know, medium at best. You know, smoked them. They're good, flavorful, but not, you know, not super strong. And I think that's the way it should be. And
yeah.
You know, because it's going to be given out to be. And it's like too, when people ask me, you know, like, oh, you know, I'm going to a wedding, I need to bring cigars. You know, what should I grab? I always recommend, like, look, the best thing you can do for like a wedding or like a big party, when there's a majority of the people who are gonna like take a cigar from you are gonna be people who don't really smoke. So you got to be prepared for that. And you also don't want to break the bank either. So I often tell people, like, look, there's a lot of them out there. I mean, like United, like the actual United cigars in the like 20 count box. That's a great deal. You know.
You know what though, Matt? This is gonna be an unpopular thing. I'm gonna say.
No, go ahead.
You gotta go with a cigar. Look, the wedding cigar was something special because it was customized. But if you're not going to go with that, you do have to go with something, I think, that people are familiar with the brand, even if they don't smoke. So, you know, like, I went with Romeo Julieta because everyone knows that's a cigar brand, right?
I was going to say that, too. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, like, in terms of it, like, something that's, you know, Romeos are good.
For your guests,
even Perdomos. Like, a box of Perdomo champagne.
No, absolutely.
I mean,
but, yeah,
that's a great box for a wedding.
Champagne that's, like, very celebratory with the way it's packaged and everything.
Got the Connecticut Shade wrapper on there. It's got a little bit more flavor for a Connecticut Shade, which is nice, but it's not going to kill you. Great price, celebratory. Romeo and Julieta, everybody knows that name.
Yep.
That's another good one. You know, I always blank when I'm like thinking about specific shit. But yeah, no, I mean, stuff that's not super expensive, but you know is good quality. It's very consistent. Everybody knows the name. Shit like that. I mean, it's you can't go wrong with it.
You can't go wrong, and what happens is people think it's something special. Like, I think it's okay if you want to go uber boutique, if it's like you're giving it out to your geek friends and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying for the general guests, you want them to have a cigar, and you want them to feel like they had something of really, like, wow, I had a Monte Cristo or Romeo Julieta or a Davidoff. That was really a cool experience. Like, you know, if they go, you know, then they could tell people about it as opposed to, you know, I smoked brand XYZ, you know, which no one heard of. So, nothing against those cigars, but if you want people to smoke the XYZ brands, I think you gotta gateway them in. Is what I'm saying.
That's true.
Yeah.
Who is this? Sorry. My phone is just going off today.
Oh, I imagine it is, yeah.
It's insane, man. It's insane. I don't even remember what we're going to talk about tonight. Oh, no, I do. There was a couple of things we were going to talk about, but I'm just enjoying the moment.
You had a big news story that you were teasing, and I think I let you tease it for a reason. I think I gave you a get-out-of-jail-free card with that one, but I think we know what it is.
Well, yeah, it's this. I just, you know,
Yeah, it is. So I gave you get out, freak. I didn't give you shit on. He's like, I got a big surprise. Like,
Well, I was thinking about waiting and then like telling people like here, but then I was just like, no, I want to like do it
No.
now because
nah, you're gonna get people asking you about it. You did the right thing, Matt.
then my phone will be lighting up even worse on the show. And then I had some other ideas for stuff I wanted to do, and I was like, yeah, but I want to like do that now. I don't want to wait. So, like today, I put out a story, but I wrote it like a press release about. Did you see that? If you go to the
Yeah.
website.
It was cute. It was cute. Yeah.
If you go to SmokeATobacco.com, you can see it. I was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta do this, and I like wrote it. You know, place of conception, Santiago. Because that's
Fuente,
what
baby.
happened.
Fuente, baby.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Carlito called me, texted me, and he sent me this long thing, whatever, and then he texted me like 15 minutes later. He's like, hey, he's like, I was just doing the math. He's like. He's like, oh my God. He's like, that's a Dominican baby. I know where that baby was being. I'm like, yeah, I know. I respond like, yeah, this was your fault. This is your fault. So yeah, no, I mean, it was.
That's why, and that was part of actually why I picked the Fuente tonight too, just so you know.
Me too. That was part of it.
Yeah. So.
When we were down at the factory, that's
Carlito making lives happy and making more lives, right?
Yeah. He's always talking about the power of love. The power of love. Yeah. Well, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
So that
I remember you told me in like December. I'm like, you sure, man? Like, that's pretty close to know if something like that happened. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, okay.
So, yeah, no, yeah, because you're one of the first people that we told.
I know. I was like, and then I remember you guys were gonna wait, right? But I actually think you made the right call telling people early because Nicole had to be away from the show.
Well, yeah.
And I think it would have been too many questions you would have got. So I think you guys made a good call making it when you did, just so people knew why she was out of the. Well, she was a little busy. She was gonna be a little busy. So. And yeah. But she's gonna make a great mother. You're gonna make a great father. I mean, beautiful family. So congratulations to both of you guys. Yeah.
Thank you, Coop. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I know it's it's crazy because you spend the whole pregnancy just being like, oh, it's coming, but like, not really a lot of changes. I mean, she changes, but there's not much I can really do. I mean, I'll help her out, but then all of a sudden it's just like boom, and it changes. Like, oh, now here it is. Now it's time. But,
yeah. Here's what's gonna happen, and Carney could probably tell you this.
Oh, Carney told me so much.
The first year you're gonna be like, we got this. This ain't hard. Our lives are going to be exactly how it is, right? Maybe with the exception of the sleep piece, right? The second year is when I'm telling you, everything changes for you in that second year because they're mobile and they're talking.
Oh.
And then it's a completely different thing you're dealing with that second. Trust me, we were in that boat, my wife and I, when we had our daughter.
Yeah, Carney.
And then I went through it. And then I went through it with 3 others after that. I'm telling you, the second year is the tough one.
Well, I was FaceTiming with Carney in the hospital, and I was holding her, and then he was like, "Bro, I'm not talking shit, but like I'm just gonna give you some advice. That swaddle job needs work. You got to get the swaddle down." He's like, "I'm just gonna tell you right now, you gotta get that down."
I never got it down.
And it's a little tricky. We get the sleep sack, which it's kind of like the cheat method, because you put them in there, and then you just fold, and then it velcros, and then it's done. So
they used to have these sack bags that they did, right? And they stopped them, I think, for various reasons. So you put them in there, and you put like a tote bag almost, like, and it would create an instant blanket. But I think there was a safety issue, and they stopped doing those.
Interesting. I didn't even know about those.
Yeah, well, I think because by the time one of my sons came along, they were gone. And I think
okay.
I remember we heard it was a safety issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we had the regular, blanket rags from the hospital at first, but as soon as we got home, I'm like, this is tough. I'm like, she wants to like bring her arms up, like no matter how like tight I swaddle her, she just the arms come out, and I'm like, all right, so I just have to accept that. And then Nicole's like, well, I have some of those other things, so like we put her in that thing, and she just like slides in, and then it's just like. and then it clicks, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. But problem is, we only have like 4 of them, so I'm like, you better order like 20 of those because we're gonna need them.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. Other than that, it's been good, and I got the diaper down. Everyone, there was a lot of people talking shit.
Diapers,
A lot of
we
people
use cloth diapers, by the way. It's easy too. They were never hard.
A lot of people were talking shit. Like, oh, I don't know. Listen, I already got it down. Day 1, I've changed like half of them so far. I got it down.
Yeah, it's easy. It's overrated.
Right.
Cloth is actually very. Yeah, it's interesting. I just saw Dave Garofalo commented saying, "Best review ever. Congratulations, God bless." Which I think is beautiful. Not to switch it, but when I saw Dave, it was a year ago. I was up by you guys, and I was in Dave's office.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with Dave. Remember, he interviewed his mother on the like he had an interview with his mother.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I regretted not doing the interview with my father. I said, it's because he would have been the best interview ever, is what I just said. He would have did it, and I never did it. So I told him, I said, if anyone gives you crap, I said, I got your back on this one. So at the same point with this, let's kind of turn it to a happier thing. I think, this is a happy thing, and that's part of what you guys do. You guys, a lot of people in the community grew up with you guys. Like, they saw you guys getting meet, date. They saw you guys get engaged in Vegas. You got married in Vegas, and then a baby was on the way. So I think a lot of people feel like they're along for this journey with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you won't regret that you did that. When you go 20, 30 years down the road, you're not going to have any regrets about that. So I think it's a good thing.
One of the things that I said, and a couple people were like, yeah, but like, she might not be into cigars, or like, she's not gonna like, and I'm like,
that's not, yeah.
I go,
yeah,
that's not the point. I'm like, my whole life, like, hold on, I shouldn't say my whole life, but a significant part of my life, almost my entire relationship with Nicole, has been somewhat documented.
That's what I'm saying. It's
and recorded. And then, everything ever since, and then even like her coming into the world has been like documented and stuff. And like someday, she'll get to look back and like watch or listen to those episodes, and like, she'll see that article on the website someday.
Well, yeah.
And, I think that's cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess, people, I don't know if necessarily I would have did it because it's not my thing, right? But then again, I didn't have a documented journey like you guys had, right? So I tended to be more private with my life, right? That's just kind of how the nature of me. But I think at the same time, you guys have been very open with your audience, and I feel like they feel like they're in your home a lot of times. So I think it's good that you've had these steps along the way, and this is a great way to share it with your audience. Because I think people do like this invite you into the home thing, and you guys, like I said, you've invited everyone into their home going back to 2000 when smoking tobacco started. So don't, like I said, you would have regretted maybe if you didn't do it, is what I'm saying. Like, guess what? You can always pull some of the stuff down if you want someday, right? But guess what? At least you have it out there, right? And it's documented. And if you don't document it, then you miss the opportunity, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, going into it, I'm like, I was already thinking, I was like, oh, there's gonna be like 10 people who are gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe like you did that. That's so like, and it's like,
it's your call. Guess what? That's your call to do it. It's not anyone's to judge on that.
Yeah, and I'm like, but you know what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do it anyway, because you know what? Like, it's not even about that. Like, it's just something fun for me to do and something for her to see later, and like, hopefully she gets a kick out of it, So
yeah,
no,
she's probably in 20 years going, oh, geez, right? But I mean, it's like I said, it's a part of your life that, I know people who have followed you, and there's a lot of people who are asking me. Paul was asking me, like, from KMA, like, in Tuesday, is the baby come yet? I said, I know the baby's not here yet. Matt's doing a show tomorrow night with Jose, so.
Oh, yeah.
So I know people, and obviously I didn't tell anyone until you were ready to tell someone, because, that's your job to make the announcement. So, and you guys did, so.
Oh, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, and it was, I told the certain few people first, and then, we kind of said something later, but, yeah, no, I mean, it's exciting, she, the other thing too is like she also has, there's a lot of kids around her age already that, hopefully she gets to be friends with over the years. That Capolini just had a baby.
Yeah, there's an arranged marriage, or are you going with the Capolini family? I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because I told Capolini, he was like, "Oh my god," he's like, "Oh man, like
There
we
we
get
go.
married," and I'm like, "Oh shit."
I went through this with my daughter. Yeah, you start arranging the marriage now.
And then Autumn's too. So me and Carney have joked about like, oh, like they're gonna be best friends. Like, I mean, so there's already kind of a lot in place, for her, which is cool.
It, maybe my grandkid will be friends with her. Maybe Anastasia could be an older sister to my grandkid. So
that's right.
Yeah, I don't have a grandkid coming yet. I mean, I pray someday I do, but that time will come when it's ready to come. Yeah.
The day you become a grandfather, Coop.
It will not. I'll tell you something though. It will be announced, but I'm not gonna tell anyone until a baby comes. That's how I am.
Yeah.
I'm very private on stuff. Because unless my daughter puts it out there, I'm not gonna put it out there for her. If my daughter's very public about it, then I'll probably be more public about it. But I know my daughter; she's pretty private. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, and there's still a lot of things that I, and it's funny, you talk about, how open we are with a lot of things, but there's still a lot of things I keep close to the vest because it's
sure. No, yeah. I mean, I get it.
So I get it too. I totally get it. It's you gotta have some part of your life that's just for you.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I think that's important.
But it's and I'm telling you, it's gonna go fast. And then one day you're gonna be walking her down an aisle. So, that's gonna happen. So.
I know.
Yep. So it's a beautiful thing when that happens. And we gained a wonderful son-in-law who I would just consider one of my own. And I'm really tough, in terms of letting people into the family. I was like, a little closed, but you kind of have to prove yourself a little. I want to make sure you have stability, but this guy's proved himself. He's been great. Proud to have him as a son-in-law.
Are you like De Niro in Meet the Parents with the Circle of Trust?
So what I did, but here's what I did to this guy.
Oh boy!
So
you give him the lie detector test?
No. So he shows up with a box of angel shares, right?
Ooh.
But Alex, my son-in-law, right? When he asked for my permission. So
I remember this. I remember this.
Yeah. So it's perfect time I'll tell the story again. So I knew what was happening, right? He says I have to talk to you tomorrow. This was Thanksgiving. I'm like, okay. He goes, I'm gonna come out from South Carolina. I said, tell me now. He goes, no, I'm gonna tell you tomorrow, because he hadn't asked my daughter yet. So he comes up, and I said, all right. So the studio here. I said, there's an old trick we have in sales that we used to do is when we had people like demoing their sales presentations, we turn up the heat to make them sweat, right, and make it more difficult. So I said, hey man, we got to do this in my office here. So have a seat, right? And I put him in the seat. I said, wait here about like 10 minutes. I need to do something, right? So I wanted to get nice and hot, right? So, and then he gives me the box of open sex. I'm like, I felt bad. And he asked for permission, and of course I said yes. So
you tried to be a dick, and he came out like, oh, I was, really thoughtful, and I got you something really special. Then you're like, ah, fuck, I sweated this kid out.
Yeah, he did, and then for my when they got married, he presented me with a gift, and it was very special. He gave me it was already out for a couple years, this cigar, the My Father 5th anniversary cigar.
Ooh.
Yeah. So and that was very, because of the idea of my father and everything, I thought that was really nice of him. He did not have to do that. But it was, that was very special.
Which, speaking of, on somewhat related note, the My Father 20th anniversary is just shipped.
I just put my order in today with Blue Smoke. Yesterday with Blue Smoke, just so you know.
Oh, Jay. If you're watching, you know what to do. I didn't know he.
Yeah, Jay's always in sell mode. You don't have to worry about. Yeah, so I got my order in with Jay. Yeah, I did get my order in with Jay because let me tell you, and I had Patrick Agreed on the show Thursday night.
Oh, I still haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, by the way, I'm really proud of that interview for a lot of reasons, but that was a great interview. And when I asked him about the booth of the show, my father, they were the booth of the show. I mean, they don't do a good job at they didn't put on a Fuente Padron presentation but they could have, with that La Union release with Tatuaje. They could have done that. They chose not to do it, and I respect them for it. But their booth they were the booth of the show this year. There was no question about it. I mean, you want to say United and Selected, they're great. They had the same booth, but definitely this year, what my father brought, they took it to another level this year.
And, honestly, I think that La Union is a release that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, but everyone should be talking about that. Because I know there's going to be a few people who go oh, but they're doing Fuente Padron. Fuente Padron is Fuente Padron.
This may come out before Fuente Padron, which is next year.
Probably. But the thing about it, though, is it's also special because I don't think people know. All right, let me pause for a second. So, as most people know, and we're going to talk about this later in the show, but over the last week, you've probably heard a lot about the Tatuaje NFT, and we've been covering it. And which is great. We'll cover that. But
Matt's been doing blow by blow, by the way. He's been really covering it. Yeah.
That's right. I stay committed.
Yep. So,
but I've had a lot of people asking questions about this, and there's a lot of people ask about Tatuaje and Pete and about the factory and stuff like that, and my father. And I don't think many people know the personal connection that Pete has with the Garcias, which, for those who don't know, and I'll tell you, Pete is married to Don Pepin Garcia's daughter, Yanni Garcia. That's Pete's wife.
And they did that. They got married very quietly. People don't remember that.
That's right.
Very low key, they kept it, and
that's
I think people knew they were together for a while, but they were very low key about it. I think what was great is everyone respected those bounds too.
Oh, 100%. And so Don Pepin Garcia is Pete's father-in-law. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. So this project is not just the factory. No, this is literally like an in-house family project in a sense, really. Yeah. I mean, this is I don't think people understand that. In the La Union is an amazing release that, I mean, we haven't had the cigars yet, but it's 4 different cigars, right, Coop? It's 4. There's two different boxes that
there's a black box and a red box. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 10 and 10, but there's 2 different boxes, the black and the red. But each box, those 20 cigars are different. So it's not just different color boxes. The red box has 10 and 10, and then the black box has a different 10 and 10, and each one has one that's blended by Garcias and one blended by Pete. And so it's a lot like Fuente Padron, but I don't know. I think it's very special, and I don't see it getting talked about as much as it should be. I mean, this for me, it's one of my top 3 things from the trade show.
And here's the thing. Most of the cigar media did not go to the My Father booth. You did. I know you did, right?
Yeah.
I know, Bob the cigar guy did. Yeah, So, some of us did go to the My Father booth. We go there every year to the My Father booth, right? Mm-hmm. But some media don't go there, right? So what happened is, if you didn't go there, you didn't see this. Now, everyone goes to Pete, right? But Pete only talked about it if people brought it up. And Bear brought it up in the interview and got a great perspective from Pete on that project. If you see our interview with that. So, and because Pete, I think, respected that even though he participated in that project, it was still the My Father thing. And, I think he just respected that, he was happy to be part of it. He talked about his involvement with it. But, so media I think this is where I think media, there's certain booths you need to go to at the trade show to really anchor yourself on the show. And a lot of guys missed My Father this year. And it was a shame because, and again, I've had no problem getting help in that booth. They're always willing to help us in that booth. I've never gone to my father booth and said come back. They've always found a way to kind of work with us. I'm just gonna say that, and they're always busy.
Yeah, when we went to Tatuaje. We did Pete and all that, and Pete actually wasn't. This isn't a negative thing, but he wasn't super busy. I mean, his guys and his brother and all the
Pete's
brokers.
doing what Saka does right now. He talks more to the media at these things.
Yeah, I mean, they are always busy writing the orders and stuff, and Pete was just kind of like a little bit more freed up, and it was easy to talk to him, which was nice. And then when I was done, I said, well, I go, your wife's got Factory of the Year, and I have an award, and he's like, oh. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. He's like, yeah. He's like, and I was like, I actually haven't met her, but he's like, no, come. And we went right in the booth, and he brought me over to her, and
super nice.
Yeah.
Super, yeah.
And they talked, and then he came back. He goes, so are you gonna do an interview? And I go, yeah. He goes, we want to get like the whole family. And I was like,
yeah,
oh,
we had
shit.
the same thing happen. They brought Pepina and everything for us. Yeah.
Yeah, so Jaime and Pepin, and then the kids were there too, who mostly translated. But it was really cool. If you didn't see the interview, it's on our channel.
Yeah.
And I think we got that story out. I think we got. Look, there's so many things. I think that's on the website.
Ours didn't make it out. I found out it's gonna go up Monday. Because the interview was recorded in a separate file. And I discovered it didn't make it into the article, so I have to put it out.
Okay.
It'll go out Monday. And there's an issue I have to wait. There's a little bit of a bandwidth issue I'm having with my platform right now. They told me I uploaded too much data, which I thought I had unlimited, but then there's a fair use policy because I put so much up this month, right, in high quality. So
for your website?
No, for Podbean.
Oh, Podbean.
Podbean has unlimited use, but then they have a fair use, and basically it's when all this stuff's getting downloaded, like large files, they kind of block you a bit. So I have to wait to put that up. So it's probably going to go up sometime next week, hopefully.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because we do our video on Podbean, too. That's why. A lot of people don't do video on Podbean. If you don't do video, these video files are enormous that go on Podbean. So, yeah. So yeah, I mean, so I did see what you guys did, and when they bring out the Garcias, and the Garcias will always come out for stuff like that. They tend, because they don't speak English, they're not going to be, you're not going to get a conversation with them. But I think Don Pepin knows who I am. I don't think he knows me personally, but I think he's seen my face. I did a written interview with him for Coop years ago, so I think he does know who I am. He's not unfamiliar with me. But I think, I've never had a conversation with him except with Jose Ortega, who translated for that interview. And he translated for our interview as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was great. And it was really cool. And then they took us around the booth. They showed us everything. Yep. It was great. And we had a great time. It was a beautiful booth, too. Beautiful booth.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so excited about, the Vegas Cubanas. I'm excited about the 10th anniversary. I said, when I saw Jay had him, I said, Jay, time to do an order. Of course, Jay will sell me more stuff after that, right? Because that's what he does. Jay's always selling, but it's good because Jay tells me he has something in stock. I'm like, yeah, I need that. So go to Blue Smoke in Dallas, by the way. I can't wait because I'm going to Blue Smoke in Dallas in September, so I'm very excited about that. And I'm going to be at a Dan Welsh event, which is really cool.
Oh.
So I mean, how I luck out. I mean, Jay's one of the big Tatuaje retailers to be at an event that day. I'm going to be buying some stuff, I know, so I know it'll be good stuff. Yeah.
I wanted to go down to Dallas this year, but obviously I'm sure it's obvious
you
why
can't.
I'm not making it, but
because
hopefully next year.
See, I'm going this year because next year's I'm going to McAuliffe, and that's always up against Intertabac. But my plan is we are going to Intertabac next year, and I think Lisa's gonna. I think we're gonna do Austria the week after, or the week before, maybe the week before we do Austria. We're talking about, which has been on our bucket list, Salzburg and Vienna. And I said, yeah, Reinhardt's getting a call. He's like, who's Reinhardt? I said, cigar guy. I said, he says, I'm having him take up. Reinhardt, if you're listening, I'm going to let you know the date so you can take me around Vienna if that trip happens. So.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go over there myself. So I'm hoping that I can. I can head out there soon, and I'd like to go to an Intertabac. So definitely a little jelly, but you'll have to tell me all about it.
Yeah, like I say, it's a plan. It's not like committed yet, but hopefully they, Jose's like telling me I really need to go there because We have grown. Cigar Coop has really grown on the international market the last few years. A big difference. Our number increases last year, which were big. A lot of it was because of the international market, especially Europe, especially Eastern Europe, really picked up for us last year. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk a lot about stuff that goes on here, but there's a whole world of cigars outside of the U.S. And it's a little different. But yeah, I look at the analytics for the website from time to time, and because we track things that are popular and things that are not, and I can see every IP address that visits my website. I know.
Yep.
I almost
you
know
look at.
who can see. I almost know. I can see like almost everyone who comes. Like when I see Indian Trail, North Carolina, I know that you've been on my website. So.
Well, what's funny is now I'm at a point I can't get to that. I don't have the time to look at that level, but eventually your traffic's gonna get to a point where you're gonna ignore that. But
which no, I mean, it is. He
sent me a message. Look, you're on my site. I'm like, yeah, read your site. Why wouldn't I read your site? Of course.
Oh no, and I don't mean it like that. But but as an example, but I can also see which countries are visiting too, and I see a lot of Asian countries, a lot of European countries.
China's grown enormously for us last year too.
Yeah. We have
in fact,
lot of foreign visitors, thousands.
We're gonna be working on some translating pieces too for Coop because we want to accommodate it. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a couple of weird countries that do well. Like one weird country that really does well for us is Turkey.
I see a lot of Turkey too.
Turkey does very well, and Istanbul's a huge city, and you can actually get down and see where it's coming from. The analytics are coming from Istanbul. So there's a lot that comes from Turkey on UK is the other big one, but Turkey is a big one for us. It's like I think Turkey I would say maybe the fourth or fifth most generous. It's US, Canada, UK, Germany, and Turkey. I think it is for us.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about the way my website is hosted. Hold on, sorry, I'm trying to get here. I can also see by country. Well, not maybe by country. I can see like the top 5 countries. I think I'm trying to find it.
Yep.
On my other computer here, traffic sources. I think. It's on here somewhere, but I know I can see it somewhere, and it'll show me the top 5 countries, and it's U.S., Canada, the UK is on there. And then, is it China, or is it's another Asian country, and then it's Turkey. And I'm like, wow, Turkey, really?
Yeah, Turkey, because Istanbul's an enormous city. I guarantee you 90% of that's coming from Istanbul. It's because it's one of the biggest cities of the world. But I see scatterings even going out to the eastern part of Turkey. So it's not
geography. Here we go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Then even our podcasts are almost aligned with the website as well.
Yeah, so I got it right here. So it's the U.S. Actually, so it's changed. So right now it's the U.S., Canada, Germany, Hong Kong, and the United Kingdom as the top 5. Then it goes DR, Japan, France, India, Nicaragua, Mexico, Bulgaria, Spain, Taiwan. Taiwan, China. So Hong Kong is rated separately than China as a whole. Australia, and then it goes on and on and on. Turkey's actually dropped, but I remember there was a period where I was seeing Turkey a lot.
Turkey is probably will, you'll see it again. Trust me, Turkey will be in there. Turkey's, like I said, been enormous. And the other one that we've had a big surge with too in the last 3 years has been Australia. And that's because of Dave Burke with Jukebox. What we've done with that. So, that's another big one that I would say for us, which is interesting. And then like I said, the podcast almost aligns up with it very, very well. Croatia is a good one for us too. Brazil's good. I haven't gotten anything from North Korea or Cuba ever. Right? I don't know if those are blocked. Right? So I can't say. I have gotten an IP out of Antarctica.
I
I've got a
haven't.
few
I
hits.
don't.
I've gotten a few hits out of Antarctica. Yeah.
I
So
don't.
someone down there must, unless it's a wrong thing. Like it's like 3 or 4 hits I've gotten out of there over the years.
I have the Republic of Korea, but that's South Korea.
That's South Korea. It's the Democratic Republic is the South Korea.
No,
But North
no.
Korea.
North Korea is the Democratic Republic. South
What's the
Korea.
South one?
South Korea is Republic of Korea.
Okay, then you probably maybe you got some out of North Korea. I haven't gotten anything out of North Korea.
No, because it has the South Korean flag. No, North Korea is like the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, I think is what North Korea is.
Yeah.
It's like the DPKR or something like that.
Yeah.
That's North Korea. I also have, this is interesting, I have Cuba. I have a few hundred Cuba, actually.
I haven't gotten anything from Cuba, and I've been there, too. Like I said, I know you're using a different platform than we are. So it's possible there's some inaccuracies, but like I said, we got Antarctica. I know that, which was really cool when that happened.
Pakistan.
I was like, wow. Pakistan's actually not a lot. I bet you have more than you think out of Pakistan.
There's about like
Pakistan.
200, there's like 200 clicks. Not a lot, but it's a lot. It's a lot for Pakistan.
It's a lot for Pakistan.
It's a lot for Pakistan. I mean, just saying.
Yeah. Czech Republic's really big for us. Austria's big for us. Belgium.
Yeah, I got a lot of Belgium.
Well.
Got a lot of Thailand too.
Yeah, I got Singapore, Saudi Arabia. Yep, Thailand. I got Thailand on it. Luxembourg. Yeah, Russia's actually been very good for us.
Russia's
as
good
well.
for us. Russia's good. Vietnam,
Georgia, Slovakia, Hong Kong. Yep, again.
Italy, Switzerland.
Yeah. Yep.
Australia's up there, yeah.
Australia's got a lot. Like I said, Australia's gone like into 6 right now of all time. But that I'm gonna put that to Dave, who really I think. In fact, when I look at the maps of Australia and I drill down, it is Queensland, which is the northeast. That's where Dave is. So that's our biggest traffic. So.
Actually, you know what's funny? I'm gonna do start date. Let's do. Can I manually put this in? I can't. So that's annoying. I'm curious. That's actually just this year. I want to go back to like. Let's go. Website was born here to now.
Yep.
All right. So now what do we have? Now let's see how many. I'm curious how it changes. It stays kind of similar. Stays kind of similar.
It kind of does, yeah. I tell people.
Nicaragua jumped way up when I did all time. Nicaragua is now like in the top 5.
Nicaragua does very well for us. I think it's like 9. Looks like, yeah. But I tell everyone, every word that's put on Cigar Coop, or every word that I say on a podcast, is almost like monetary investment. And if that doesn't, if what I'm writing or what I'm saying is not returning an audience to me, it's not going to be covered. It's simple as that. I do think that I have a good barometer in terms of the industry.
Yeah.
So when I look at companies, for example, guess what? My top 4 companies are the big 4 in terms of traffic, right? They're 4. They're 1, 2, 3, 4. It's General and Drew State almost 1 and 1A. They're very close every year. Alta is 3rd, Davidoff 4th, and then 5th is Fuente, 6th is Rocky Patel. So I mean but if as much as sometimes I want to write about something that maybe not as, and sometimes I will do that if it's not going to take me a lot of time to put that word down, but it has to generate something back for me. And I've talked about it on the show. There's certain things I'm not covering anymore because I'm like, I don't see a return on it, right? And Matt, this is why I abandoned most of the store exclusive market. When I saw, no one in Europe gives a crap about that, right? No one's in Europe's looking for what store in Arkansas has got a exclusive cigar. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful for the industry that store has it. I just can't make a point of putting that on Cigar Coop. because this audience is being globally generated right now, and they're going to tune out to this stuff, if they don't do it. So and I think when I made those decisions, and I made similar decisions now with the TAA. I think I've seen the dividends. I see the dividends now starting to pay off with that. Where I'm being a little smarter where my time is, but you know what? I want to address that European audience, which is done a little more with Cubans over the years. We haven't done enough with Cubans that I want to do. And there's a few things out of Europe I've covered to the best of my ability lately. So
well, it's interesting. You mentioned the Cubans. The problem with the Cubans is they don't really have that many news stories that go out because they don't really do a lot of new stuff and they don't do a lot of things. I mean, for the most part.
No, but Cuban reviews do well though.
Cuban reviews.
Well.
I mean, like outside of reviews, like just coverage of other things. There's not a lot to cover. So
we do
reviews.
Decent with Habanos. Yeah, we do decent with Habanos. The regional stuff I don't really bother with anymore. Again, it's kind of like store exclusive. No one cares about the Patagonia release in Slovakia, unless you're a hardcore Cuban guy looking for that stuff. It's not going to generate enough audience for me.
Well, the one that went out this week, I mean, I would say
that was
an
big.
exception.
But that had global. I did that one too because I had global implications. I even covered that on KMA today, and Abe was happy I covered that, right? Because it has global ramifications for everything, and people need to be aware of that one. So that by far was the biggest story this week. And I found that cigar on a couple websites for $1,100
for one.
So, for one, okay, so it was $400 listed, and then some of the other retailers were jacking it up a little more than the suggested retail price. But then those are the La Casa del Habanos ones, which kept it reasonable. But people from non-La Casa del Habano got their hands on these, and they're charging $1,100. So, I mean, you could do, Google will tell you. Go look at Google and see some of the prices. You'll flip. So this was, and that's having a global. It's having a global market impact on everything, not just Habanos.
Yeah, I'm looking at a few of the websites now. So iHavanas, which is a popular one.
Yeah.
They currently have Cohiba 55 Aniversario EL21, box of 10, $5,000.
Yep.
They have 2013 Behike BHK 52s, box of 10, $2,680. I mean, it's not cheap.
No, you've got a $200-something a cigar.
It is. And you know what the sad thing is? And this is kind of where we kind of get back into that conversation about, Cuban cigars, and the price and the quality. But, you're paying all that money for a cigar where some of those might not draw. And Cohiba's not, an exception to the rule. I've had Cohibas, real Cohibas, before all the... I feel like you can't even talk about Cubans anymore without, the peanut gallery being like, oh, but are they real? Oh, those are fake. Those are fake. Yeah, you go on Facebook and you see people posting pictures of Cubans. Now, granted, there's a lot of fakes. There is.
Right.
But I've seen real ones because I know what real ones are, and I can tell by looking at a photo. With my experience for the most part, and I see people post real ones, and they get the box is right, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. And you see these guys go, oh no, those are fake. Oh yeah, no, the band and I'm like. You don't know. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's there's some people out there who talk out of their ass on the Cuban cigars, and it's kind of annoying because you see these people out there come out of nowhere and they're like, oh no, and this guy's got real Cubans and whatever. And if you're into Cuban cigars and you want to, that's great. But then you get this guy who's shooting the guy down, making him feel like, oh, these are fake, and I'm like, no, you got real cigars there. Don't listen to, Joe Johnson, who's over there, it's no. It's just so annoying.
So I told you the story about the Cohiba 55 review, right? So someone brought me back
maybe
a Cohiba 55, okay?
Which I knew you had.
Right, and I reviewed it, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, it was really good, right? But I'm like, it didn't wow me, right? You guys watch Kins like a Cohiba, right? And it had the 55 band on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going and writing up the review, and I'm like, this cigar was an inch shorter than what I smoked, right? So, research turned out that they handed out a 3-pack at the 55 celebration in Cuba, and they just put the 55 bands on them, right? So I had to abort the review, unfortunately, at that point, right?
Oh,
so,
I do know that story.
Yeah. So that's what happened. I mean, And like I said, the one other thing that gave it away, it didn't have the limitada band, and I should have known that, right? But I'm like, okay, maybe they didn't give out the limitada band at the festival. So, and I said, all right, I'll write it without a score, right, and say it's a pre-release because it's something special. And then when I found out it wasn't the cigar, I was like, no, this can't
What was
go
it?
out,
Just like a Siglo 6?
It was like the Robusto. It was like the Robusto size.
Oh,
It actually was
so yeah.
By the way, I found that out on Half Wheel, so thanks to the Half Wheel guys on that one. That's the time I had to go look at Half Wheel, because I couldn't find this anywhere, right? And Brooks had the 3-pack on there. I'm like, this is what happened, yeah.
Those guys got you covered.
Let me ask you a question as well as we're talking about traffic, right? Because I want you to guess this, okay?
Sure.
So I'm now doing the analytics on PCA booze coverage right now. There's some booze that still need time to get traffic, like I just finished up this week. But as of now, the number one company booze coverage we've had is Perdomo. Perdomo's like steamrolling. I just want you to guess what number 2 is.
Something tells me it's not going to be something that I would ever guess.
You'll guess it, because I've talked a lot about it.
I have to go back.
Easy number 2. Easy number 2.
I have to go back and think now.
I'll tell you if you want, unless you want to guess it.
I'm trying to think. Who would be number 2?
I'll give you a hint. You covered this booze.
Oh. Now I know. When you said that, I know why you said it, and I know it's Oliva.
It's Oliva.
Yeah.
No, I'm not making this up. I mean, it is by far number 2. Now, I'll say this. Dunbarton and Tatuaje got a lot this week in Foundation. I don't know where they'll wind up in a few weeks. They could pass Oliva, but still, Oliva, out of all these booze, is not. Perdomo had a huge release, which is number 1. Oliva is number 2. So, again, every minute I spent at the trade show, and I knew we had good Oliva traffic last year, but every minute I spent at that trade show, I have to make sure I'm getting numbers back on that stuff. So, look, it's not that I want to exclude some of the smaller guys or anything. I wish I had more time for them, right? Because I want to cover them, but unfortunately, I have to pay the bills on this thing. And shame on me, because people are interested in Oliva. And they're interested in Perdomo. So that's why I'm spending time at these booths. Altadis in general did very well for me. Fords did very well too. So, they're big booths as well. So, but Oliva's done exceptionally well, considering they didn't have a major release this year. It was surprising.
Yeah, I mean, I found the Oliva booth to be great. I mean, it was very busy, and it was a little tricky for us to get with who we needed to get to. But they were also very gracious, like, hey, like, please wait, like, we're gonna get this done. And I'm like, no problem.
They know it's been a problem, because I brought the problem to the attention. And I remember you sent me a message saying, hey, I got to the, and I was like, I hadn't seen you, because I was gonna say, yeah, go ask for her. Like, go ask, I forget the woman's name. I said, go ask for this woman's name, because Laura, because they just hired her, yeah. And you'll get all the help you need. Like, and they were like, when we were there, they couldn't get. They were like, they were so generous with the time. And then you and I go to another booth, and I want to point this one out too. Ashton, with Andy Green. Andy is fantastic, and I owe him a spot on a show. I know you have him on, but the trick with Andy, go there on day 3 and day 4, because they send home the reps after that, and Andy's got a lot of time to spend and really go through what's happening there. So, as far as I know, I and Half Wheel are the only ones who went to Ashton this year.
Yep.
Maybe Dojo, I'm not sure, but I know us 3 were the only ones who went there.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Dojo did in-depth coverage this year. But
at least he went to the booth.
Okay,
because he did a different model. At least, like I said, in terms of information, it probably was. They were doing more. They kind of went more the reels route this year, that's fine with them. Because they're trying to do something out of the box and different. But, I think as far as talking to people, Ashton every year just has been a black hole. And a few years ago, we made the decision, hey, we are going to start going to Ashton. There's still a powerful brand out there. So, and we got a great, we hooked up with Andy, and he's a great guy. I know you've gotten to know Andy well, too.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy, and if you watch our interviews, I'm sure you're going to notice stuff coming down the pipe as well with them. They just don't do a cigar release like 4 or 5 times a year. They do one every year or 2 years. They do it. So
Yeah, I mean, he's always great hospitality in the booth. They give us all
he's
the
a great
time we
interview
need.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like him a lot, personally. I mean, we had, like I said, he wasn't. I don't want to say he wasn't busy, but he had the chance to sit with us for 15 minutes when we were there,
yeah,
which was really nice. To get 15 minutes, get him, to get the interview, talk a little off the interview and stuff. Yeah,
yeah. It was great, and he, you know, walks us around the booth. He's like, "Hey, did you see this? Did you see that?" And it's nice.
yeah. Well,
And
make sure you didn't miss this. Yeah, it's um,
for the most part, I mean, and that's how, especially most of the big guys, were really good with us that way. And for the most part, almost everybody we went to, there was only a few bad eggs that we encountered. I won't get into it, but other than that, it was pretty good. And they're right. There was a lot of booths that I
yeah,
didn't see people media-wise
yeah.
going to or seeing, and after, I haven't seen any coverage from them on, and I'm like, oh, well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I know we had misses. Don't get me wrong, Coop. El Septon was a big miss for us. We couldn't get the people we knew were all our rep was with a customer, and Zaya and Alexandra were not in the booth when we got there, unfortunately. So it was really hard to get someone to help us, and I'm not blaming anyone. We still covered their booths and everything, but it was fine. We didn't get a video, unfortunately, but we shot photos and we did our regular booth coverage. We had enough. Anything I needed to follow up on, I followed up on afterwards with that. So it happens sometimes with that one. That was I wanted, because I never talked to Zaya, so I wanted to. I know he's a polarizing figure, but I certainly wanted to talk to him.
Right.
So that was the one we missed with there. We missed PDR, which I really would have loved it happen sometimes. They had a lot of stuff. So
I think we missed them. And you know what? I realized last week we missed Villiger, and I was bullshit about it because
we covered Villiger. Renee wasn't there either, but we did cover it.
Because that was like high on my list. I'm like, I didn't realize till after it was already over. We were already back, and I was like, where's the Villiger? And I'm like looking. I'm like, oh fuck, no one went.
Well, we gave him coverage. I think probably Renee. I'm sure he saw what we did. I had a little bit of an incident with Villiger down at the Pearl Sabor. I mean, I was left off the factory tour on the media, and I happened to run into Renee afterwards at the airport, and he was very apologetic. So, and in fact, there was a cigar aficionado wasn't on the list either. So, so they fumbled with that one, but. He made very good on it. And then he sends me a box of cigars. I'm like, Renee, you didn't have to do that. Like, it happens. We're human. So don't get me wrong. I wasn't happy I was left off that factory tour either. But I had to I had to take a deep breath. And someone talked me off the ledge, and I happened to see him in the airport, and it was a great conversation. So it happens sometimes.
It does.
Yep.
Shit happens. I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then some companies need to. And look, there's some companies that absolutely need to do a better job. What they do. I was a little disappointed in Padron this year. George wasn't in the booth when we were there, and we couldn't get anyone who wanted to go on camera. That's okay. We still covered it. We got some help, but I would have liked to have gotten someone on camera from Padron. But
one of the things I noticed about Padron is, and they make great cigars, and important company. But it's like a lot of the times I notice, like, you walk in the booth, and if you have a camera with you, you just see George walk away. It's like he knows, I don't want to do this, and he leaves.
But some people don't like doing that. I'll say this though: when I went to Puro Sabor and I went on that factory tour, I saw a side of George Padron I never saw before. And it was mostly a media group that was there, and he was very engaging. He just seemed in his element down there in the factory and the farm. It was like that was, if I took anything away from Puro Sabor this year, it was that image when we went to Padron. And Padron hasn't opened the factory up a lot either. So this was, I think they were trying to kind of open things up. And I think George's son and nephew are playing more of a role with that right now, which, again, we didn't see them in the booth, or I'm sure we would have got time with them. So it happens. And then we couldn't get back there, unfortunately. So
I just want to circle back really quickly. Jay had asked a question. How much traffic did you get for the LFD NFT and now the Smoke in Tatuaje NFT?
Tatuaje one's been huge for me this year.
Yeah, I would say I think the Tatuaje one has been more. The LFD, look, we covered it so extensively last year. We got great traffic with it. But so far, the Tatuaje one,
It's my biggest story of the month.
I've
Easily
glanced.
next to SDA.
Yeah, I've glanced at like the traffic rankings for those articles, and they're pretty intense.
Like I said, if we're covering it, and we're getting traffic, then there's value. If we don't cover stuff that when I don't know, I'm gonna go faster maybe because I've been doing this one. If I don't see the traffic, I move on now. I can't. You'll get to that point because you're trying to grow still. You're still. I mean, 13 years versus 3 years. You're gonna see in a few years. You're gonna be like, I can't deal with this anymore. Yeah, but
we actually.
But Tatuaje has been a monster this year, and you've covered it more than me. So you have had much more extensive coverage of it than me.
The other thing, actually, not that it really matters to any. Well, I mean, I guess it does. It's our storefront. But smokeandtobacco.com.
It is.
Smokeandtobacco.com is going to be rebuilt, redesigned, whole new platform, starting from scratch, and then everything that currently exists will be moved over. It's going to be a little bit of a fucking pain in the ass, but
I did it in 2015 actually, and we had a
do
very smooth turnover. Yeah, we did it in 2015. And that was with, I'll say this, Paul with Stogie Geeks. Great, he was a great partner to get that platform moved for me. I owe a lot to him for that. And let me tell you, I was content that if the streak got lost with the turnover, it got lost. We were just, I think, over 1,000 at that point, right? Days. I said, if the streak gets lost, we need to move this platform. It's worth it. And we did not lose a day. We didn't lose a minute of downtime. That was a smooth transition. It helped to have a very technical guy as my partner at the time. So, great job. So it is a big job, is what I'm gonna say. And I know the platform you're moving off of it. It's a challenging platform. So because we were in a similar one.
Yeah, the thing with our platform is it was good in the beginning, but now we do so much that.
Yeah, you need a.
It's kind of limiting what things we can do. And so now we're going to be moving forward with a brand new whole from the ground up, brand new platform. It's going to be a lot more powerful, a lot more robust. There's going to be a lot more things we can do with it. So that is something that we're going to be working on over the next several months. And it's nice that Nicole is on her maternity leave because she'll have a little bit more time away. We have the baby, I know, but she's also not going to be working. So. She'll be
working.
She'll be have a little bit more time to build the website with me.
Hopefully,
So.
Yeah. I mean, Matt. That is a big job. I'm just telling you.
Well,
I'm just telling.
We're not going to do it ourselves, I should say.
No, I know, but I'm just saying you need to be. Yeah, it's a big job, and you need to be on top of it. Mm-hmm. So hopefully one of you guys can. But yeah, it's a big job.
Yeah, and it's luckily. So I will say, Nicole already kind of started the process. With that, kind of getting certain things put in place and the archival transfer stuff. So it's not going to be as bad as I thought, but there's going to be some work there. And I'm just excited to move over, and I'll be happy when it's done. And then from there, it's just kind of back to regular business of just, keeping the website updated and maintained. But, yeah, the building process is one that I'm excited about, but it's also, going to be a pain in the ass.
It's a ton of work, yeah.
So
it'll be worth it. Yeah, it'll be totally worth it.
So I'm excited about that. And I hope that we get it done before the end of the year because I think that would be huge. But yeah, we've already been talking about just
we're gonna go through a template change probably next year, and the goal of that template change for me is to improve some things on the mobile front. So we're seeing something. We need some improvements on the mobile front, and I don't think our template's doing that. So that's still gonna be a big job as well. We have a lot of customizations in there, which is just scaring me a bit. So so it's gonna be a big job.
Sorry, I was gonna say. Oh yeah, so I want to get into this. Now I know we have a couple of things, but I want to talk about the NFT thing really quick. Just because why not? We're right in the middle of it.
We're already on 10. We're already on 10:30. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, well, not only that, but it's just we're in the middle of the auction. So, Oh shit! So I've been busy getting the baby home today, so I'm just looking at the bid list again. And so the first two have sold. The first one went for 100,000 to a user by the name of Golden Finger, to which we have heard unconfirmed rumors, although a lot of rumors, that it looks like it could be Corona cigar, which is interesting.
I'm not saying a word on any of this.
I'm not saying I'm. These are things that I've seen online and stuff like
I am
that.
absolving myself from guessing who any of these guys are unless they've told me.
That's fine. I'm not. And look, for the record, because I just want to say, I'm not trying to put Coop in a bad position. My opinions or the things I hear, this has nothing to do with him.
I am out of this one. Yeah.
This has nothing to do with Coop. I'm just. Look, I'm only saying all this because of how extensively I've been covering this thing. And everyone asked me my opinion and all of this because of how much I've covered it. And I spend a lot of time watching things that get said on social media and stuff. And that is just what I'm seeing on. I'm just reporting what I see. Okay, no one has come to me in a back corner and said, no, this is what I just see people saying. All the groups, and especially the Smoke In group, obviously, because those people following it. I'm seeing that. But I'm seeing said person, Golden Finger, has bid again on NFT number 3. So it's going for number 2. We've also seen bids from Danny D, who we know is Danny Dinkowicz from Tobacco Plaza, who was part of the LFD NFT last year. We've seen bids from V Presti and Petrie, who also won NFT number 2, who I'm still not sure who that is. Alexander Martinez was bidding, then kind of stopped. I see that he put a bid in on NFT number 3. So it looks like
that's a known guy, and that's a pretty open guy who's been bidding on that.
Yeah, and he
owns Main Street Cigars in New Jersey. Yeah, that's an open guy.
But he also owns the first 2 LFD NFTs from last year.
And he also has been through it, so he's probably very smart of how he's bidding right now.
There's also someone who keeps bidding with the username No One Else Bid Please, which
that's a guy who wants to put a bid in and get their name on there.
It's kind of funny.
Matt. Here's my question. Okay.
Yeah.
So this, I think, has been a very different thing, and I think what's driving a lot of this is the artwork is specific, right? But here's my question, right? So, and I'm not gonna say who this is, right? V Presti. All right. He bid $79,750 on NFT 3.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he have tried to snag? He probably could have had NFT 2 cheaper.
Okay.
Why didn't he try? Why didn't he go after NFT 2? Like, is there something with the artwork that's because I don't think the long-term play with this is the artwork, right? I don't think people are gonna care which piece of artwork it is, except if it's number 1, right?
Number 1 is number 1. Yeah.
Number 1's number 1, but then again, so why would you not bid high or try? You could have had that other NFT cheaper, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Is it that specific? So I don't. This is where I don't understand the community of this. Same with Golden Finger. He could have probably had that one cheaper, and he's gonna get this one. Why wouldn't he go on that? That second one almost seemed like the Petrie was like almost handed that one. It was almost like it was handed to him. Like that should have been like I thought that thing stalled. That one stalled on that one for whatever reason.
It's funny. I remember I was sitting in the hospital with Anastasia.
He's following
yesterday.
the NFTs while Nicole's like pushing it.
No, this was after. This was yesterday, Coop. Come on.
But you weren't.
There was. I mean, there's times of downtime. Yeah. I mean, she does sleep like most of the day.
Right.
For now. But no, we were sitting there in bed, and I was like, let me look, because I was like, oh, this is ending soon, and so I was just sitting there, and I was watching, and it went overtime, but it only went to like 12:30, and then I looked, and it was ended, and it was like, what was the final total? Like $76,000.
$76,001.
And I was like,
again, like those
really?
guys could have had number 2 a lot cheaper.
Now let's not forget. Let me pull this up so that I have it in front of me. But let's go back in time to LFDs last year, and before people get all like, well, why do we keep talking about LFD? Because LFD is the only other NFT like this that has happened. So it's the only thing we can use as a reference point. If 20 other cigar NFTs that are exactly like these two have already happened, sure, we could bounce it. It's the only other baseline we have because in this industry, these are the only. I mean, United did one, but look, and I love those guys, but in fairness, the one United did while they were first was not like these two. The LFD one and the Tatuaje ones are very different and I think a little bit more complex than what United did because of just what was involved and what pertained to it.
More package deal. Yeah, these were more package deals. LFD had a smaller package than the Tatuaje one did. But again, I look at like in the end, I know the only thing I was talking to Abe this morning. He said the boxes of the cigars are different. But again, I think because they're numbered 1 to whatever, and then so NFT 1's gonna get the lower. But I get NFT 1, right?
So
I don't get why why V Presti and Goldenfinger didn't try for number 2, and now they're going after number 3 at a higher price. Is it the art that's that big a difference? That's the only thing I can think of.
So if you go back to the list, and you can go to smokingtobacco.com, you can find the article from last year. Which actually, for everyone, if you want to find all the just the NFT stuff for the United, LFD, Tatuaje, if you go to smokingtobacco.com, the news tab at the top, and you go all the way down to NFTs, it's all the articles pertaining to the NFTs, just so you know. So it's real quick to get to. It's all sorted out for you. In there, if you go to the one that's the LFD, it's LFD sells final of 7 NFTs. There's a list in there, and there's all the information from that whole thing. It's all in one article, and it's very useful. You wouldn't believe how many people have asked for that article again. I've had to reshare it. So about halfway down, you'll see the bulleted list of all 7 transactions. Who bought them? How much? Whatever. You can follow the trend here, and it's kind of similar to how Tatuaje has gone in the first 2 rounds.
Very similar how it went high and dipped for number 2, and now it's rising again. It's very similar. Which I'm trying to figure it out.
So last year, the first 2 went to Alexander Martinez. Okay, the first one went for $85,000. Tatuaje's first one went for $100,000.
Right.
The second one last year, Alex got for $78,000. This one for $76,000. Then the third one went to a private buyer, $90,000. The next one, $90,000. The one after that, $92,000. Then by the 6th one, came down a little bit to $81,000. But by the time they got to the last one, that one went almost $100,000. It was $98,000.
Yep.
So if we go back, so $100,000, $76,000. Where are we at now? We are at $79,750 with 13 hours to go. So the third one is already past what the second one sold for. It's pretty much $80,000, and there's still 13 hours to go. And there's going to be more bids. So the third one is going to probably creep up closer to the 100,000 mark by the time it closes. So not for nothing, but we're literally seeing the same pattern unfold here.
Yeah, and if you figure out the average price right now, so I know there's only 2 for Tatuaje, but there was 7 for LaFleur. I think LaFleur's 7 came out to about $87,000. Even with the drop on the Tatuaje, it's right on that pace. Like I said, it's probably going to go up. But I also think that there's a few other things that, there's value in this package because of the DuPont cutter is a one of one, and
the lighters.
Just the light. I'm saying some other cutters lighters, correct? That's a huge value. I would say that's the big value in there, where that can probably go crazy on the secondary market.
Now, let me tell you something. For those who don't know SD DuPont very well, most of you have probably at least heard of or seen someone use the line 2. You've probably seen me use it. We have a couple.
The ping. It has a famous ping to it.
With the roll flint, soft flame. Yep. We have a couple of them. I have one. Nicole has one.
Mine. I don't know what happened to it. It was given to my dad, and we don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, so I know that's too bad.
Yeah. So,
but they're very special lighters, and I know that you hear people go like, "Oh, that's so much money for a lighter," and it's like, It is a lot of money for a lighter, but it's not. You have to understand the quality. I mean, you get what you pay for. I mean, these are handmade in France. It's like the Louis Vuitton of lighters.
This is like a
literally.
Patek Philippe watch. Just like a Patek Philippe watch. It's that time of an item. And like I said, when you get a one of one, because these are one of a kind artwork on each of these. There's a market globally for these.
Cool. Put it this way. Imagine if Patek Philippe only made 7 watches and each one was different. They were all one of one.
Yeah.
And they sold them.
Those would be sold at 100. Yeah. It'd be through the roof, like $100,000 as well.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing,
and that's another reason why you have people asking like, well, why are these NFT things like? And it's like you got to remember, like, in addition to the exclusive rights for a retailer to be one of, only a couple people who can sell these cigars, you're getting other pieces too, like and a one of one line 2 lighter from DuPont, like. You can't just buy that anywhere. It's very limited and special.
Yeah, I just, like I said, go back. I'd like to understand if these guys ever come public with who they are. I want to understand why you guys passed on the second one. Is it because of the artwork? That's the only thing. Why people passed on that second NFT? You could have had it cheap, because in the end, if you're a retailer, guess what? You got yourself a bargain with that compared to the now what's going on. So
you know what I think?
I don't understand this enough. Yeah,
that's the only thing I can think of. But the other thing you got to remember too with LFD, all 7 of them were available for auction. Abe, the 7th one is already gone. Abe's keeping number 7. So remember,
I think Abe should have kept number 4.
Oh, I love number 4.
Well, okay, he could have picked. I think he should have just left the 7th one out there, because it would have had like this last. It has getting the last one, I think, has some merit to it. You know what I'm saying?
True.
It's not. Yeah.
Everybody wants number 1, and everybody wants number 7. Everybody wants the first one, and everyone wants the last one.
The last one, it's just, even though there is a last one, right? But 7 has a little more. Wow, this is really the last of it. The last of the series. So
remember this. Like I said, all 7 of LFDs were available. Okay. The 7th, there was only 6 made publicly available to buy with Tatuaje. The first one's gone, the second one's gone, the 7th one's gone, and 3 is almost gone. So you got 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then after tomorrow, there's only going to be 3 left. So remember, as they get down, then you get the people who have been bidding kind of cautiously but going for it, and we saw this last year with LFD, and I think there's some truth to this. And even Carney said to me, he's like, we get to the last one, you're going to have people who are like, all right, this is our last chance. Do we really want it? And then they're going to go for it, because then that's it. I think you'll see, like, number 6 might go over 100,000. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that one goes for 125. You know why? Because there's going to be people out there with the money who are like, fuck it, I got to go for it. Yeah.
Final chance to get it, right. That's what happened with the LFD one.
So
yeah, I agree with you. And I think they'll be kicking themselves for passing on number 2.
We see
number 2 had nice art. They all have nice artwork. Number 2 was very nice artwork. I wish if I had that type of capital, I would have made a bid to grab that one. I don't have that type of money though. I love the eye. I love that eye one. I thought it was really cool.
I like number 4. I think number 4 is cool. I like that one, the punk.
Yeah, 1 and 2 were my favorite. 1, 2, and 7. Abe kept a very nice one, I thought.
But
he thought that would be the least appealing. He thought that would be the least appealing, and I could see his point on that, because it's just more generic Tatuaje Anarchy.
I told Pete he should have made one of himself, but I said it can't be. But it can't be like just you, or the picture of you that's in all the ads, that everyone knows. It's got. I said, you know what I said to him? I go, it's got to be that old photo of you with the long hair from like way back in the day when you were playing bass. That is out there, and people who know about it, it's out there, but you gotta kind of dig for it. You should have taken that photo and turned it into one of the NFTs, so it's a rare photo of Pete. That would have been cool. Just something super rare that a lot of people probably haven't seen before.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. But it's funny because when they came on the other night, Pete and Abe were kind of going back and forth a little bit, and they had ideas and shit. And damn it, I just thought of this. We should have did this. And there was so much more they could have done.
The custom secondary band, I think, was the miss. I agree with Pete. That would have been nice to have the custom secondary band.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess they could still do it, but at this
That
point,
one they probably could. It's kind of like,
but it would eat into that cost to do it. So I don't know why they would.
yeah,
You know, it is what it is.
it's true. But, you know, it's, I don't know, I find it fascinating. I find it fascinating how there's still a lot of people who, like, as I post the updates, they're like, this whole thing's stupid. Like, oh, I wouldn't pay that. And it's like, I think people look at it like, oh, like, we're going to put a cigar on the market that's a Tatuaje for $100 a piece. Like it's a regular release. And it's like, but it's not like a regular release.
But these are the same people who, look, I'm not a big crypto guy, right? I'm going to be the first one to tell you I'm not a huge fan of it. But these are the same people who put $5,000 down for a personal seat license for their football team. For the right to buy season tickets. I'm just saying, I've seen people say it from both ends of their mouth. So
yeah.
So you do it for your football team, right? And the value is very different with this, is what I'm saying, because this is something that, you know, but people do it with these personal seat licenses. So I've been in cigar shops. I know people who bought the Panther seats who are shitting on this, right? And I don't consider, by the way, use the word haters. I don't consider them haters. I think they have a strong doubt on it, right? But, you know, when I say that to them, they argue with me. I'm like, no, it's nothing different. You're doing the same thing. You're paying something for the right to get something.
I had one guy say, I think Carney like jumped in on this, but one guy said something about like $100 for a cigar, but I have to pay like, you know, whatever to buy the thing. I would rather spend like $100,000 on like, you know, like something like something about like an invitation to like meet a celebrity or like spend time with a celebrity.
Then do it.
And I'm like,
then do it.
Then do it. But like, you also remember, like, I think people are missing that. I think so many people, and we saw this last year too. It's like, all right, spend $100,000 and go hang out with LeBron James for an afternoon, or you can spend $100,000 and you can have, like, you can be one of like 5 people to get something that only you can sell and make money off of it. And everyone's like, yeah, but you'd have to, and it's like, yeah. So every business like takes time to make your money back, but like it's still a money making venture.
Yeah, that's
how it is. I mean, that's why it's
right.
special. It's not like you're just, oh, you're getting this one-time limited edition of cigars. Like, no, you're getting access to sell something that only a couple people can do and make money off of that.
And Jay made a big point. You don't need crypto to buy. By the way, I think you needed crypto to buy the selected tobacco one. I think you did need crypto for that. But this one, you just put your credit card on. So it's
true.
It's very easy to But I think, and again, if United or Selected could correct me on that, because I looked, there's still some of those out there, by the way. But I think the fact that was a little more complicated, just because I don't think people understand the cryptocurrency. This is something very easy. It's tangible dollars here.
I don't know if I agree. So, as you know, Alan likes to comment a lot, but I saw this one and I found it interesting. And he said, I would break up the package and sell it piece by piece like a corporate raider. I would take the 225 cigars each year and make 225 samplers each with 10 to 20 tats. Use the very rare cigar to leverage large sales of other Tatuaje products. In theory, one could do that, but I don't know if it makes. I don't think it makes sense to do it like that.
Why would you do that? Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it.
because you know something like this. This thing is so special on its own.
It's a collection. Abe talked about this morning on KMA, and he's putting his in the vintage room as a collection. It will be sold as a collection. He's going to put a crazy price on it, and guess what? If the crazy price isn't met, it's going to stay in his vintage.
You're talking about the utility package of like the humidor, the cutter, all that other stuff,
right?
And then the cigars separately, he'll just always sell.
He'll just always sell that, yeah. But I think there's, especially those first drops, you don't want to mess with that. You have to keep that in there. But yeah, afterwards, I mean, I've already seen some people. I've already seen some people doing that, breaking them up. Like by the way, I've seen those floor ones going for $200. So
people buy them too.
And guess what? They sold. Cigar Hustler had it for $200. I believe they sold them, right? So, God bless them for if the market's working for them, if there's a demand for that and they want to charge $200, go do it. If someone's paying $200 for it, God bless them. Who am I to say anything on that?
Yeah, but Alan said it's what Ronnie does at Secreto, and it's what JR has done with Opus 20th. But that's different, though. Those are not as limited. Those are not as limited as this product. Opus 20 is a limited.
Yeah.
It's Opus 20th is a limited product, but there's a lot more people who get Opus 20th than there are of these. That's the difference. That's different. It's not exactly the same. I disagree. You know, they still send out a few thousand boxes of Opus 20th every year. There's not that many boxes of these going out.
If you keep answering, he's going to keep commenting. Let's move on.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So you got your comments in, Alan. We appreciate them.
But anyway. But yeah, no. I mean, it's something that stands on its own. And I think that it'll be, and like Abe said too, you know, what really matters is not even just the the auctions, but it's after they're out and what people do with them. That's the real test.
I've been and I was a little critical of Carney on some of that. I don't think so, I don't think those retailers all did a good job. Some did better job than others. Those retailers. I think the one that did the best job was the store that got number 7. By far, they knew what they were doing with that 7th one. I'm not, again, I'm not saying the others did a bad job. I'm just saying number 7 did did the best job of those. So it's going to be interesting because here's the deal. It's a little different here. Abe's going to be a competitor to some of these retailers to some extent. Like, I guess he's a partner in one way, supplying them with them. But he's a competitor with them in the other respect. So I don't know if he's going to give away any secrets with that. Look, I have the most confidence that Abe's going to move the most of these NFT cigars.
Well, the other thing too that I thought was interesting, and was it Pete who said it, or I can't remember. One of them brought it up when they were on the show, because somebody asked about the Pale Horse, which also comes with each one, but you only get one. Is it like one bundle of 15 or something like that?
Yeah, it's a throw-in with that. I don't think there's anything really. Just makes it a little more attractive. And guess what? Whoever gets these guys sell these for $75 a stick, right? Before you do that, go read the review on Cigar Coop of the Pale Horse. Sorry, Pete. It didn't do that good on Coop, so I'm going to be honest with you. So I think it's a nice thing, but I didn't think it was a great cigar.
Well, I guess we already know how Coop feels about it, but I was going to say
it wasn't a bad cigar, okay? But it wouldn't be one I would chase down for $75 is what I'm saying. Maybe an Anarchy. Even Anarchy's high, but I would just say the Pale Horse is not something I would be worried about missing, in my opinion. It just wasn't. It was okay. It was. It smoked like an $8 or $9 cigar. Is what I was just gonna say. Which is nothing wrong with that. I just didn't. I think it was a nice throw-in. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't again. But people like to chase the golden goose sometimes.
There's a market for it, right?
There's a market for it. Right. There is a market for it. But that's gonna be so high. I mean, I guarantee you. Someone's going to try to move those bundles at a ridiculous amount. That 15-count bundle. If you're a retailer, you're going to try to move that thing for $1,000 because it's rare and they're not making it again.
Those only got a one-time run. Those are not continuous.
Look, Tatuaje is one of the brands where you can get away with that because it's an established Puerto Flores. It's an established brand,
Time will tell.
Yep.
Time will tell. Hold on one second. I just gotta fix my hat. I had like a little like dollop of hair hanging out under my hat. It was just annoying me.
Yeah, I would have given Jay mine for $50. By the way, for free. I would give it to you for free, Jay. The ones I had. I smoked them though.
Yeah, Jay said I paid $50 for a Pale Horse a few years ago. I didn't like it as much as the chase for it was great.
I got one at the dinner. And then I got my hands on another one. So, but not again. No, that's a great thing to have it like a dinner like that. The red meatloaf is not the red. The the red meatloaf is dinner. It was So that's what's it good for. It's good. It's a good event cigar. It was. And like I said, I think obviously there's gonna be someone. It's a very rare Tatuaje cigar to get. So there's gonna be some value on it. Maybe some people will really like it.
So let me ask you a question. So people can say what they want about these NFTs, right?
Right.
Mark, just text Nic. You want to see the baby? Just text Nicole.
We're live streaming here, guys.
I know. Well, it's sorry. He's like looking at me like that, and I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere.
Matt, if you gotta go change a diaper, I'll cover things.
No.
Okay.
That's
Nicole
just
need a break there. So
it's Nicole's cousin Mark. It's okay. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So here's the thing. People can say what they want about these NFTs, right? But what I think is interesting was LFD sold theirs. They made money and it was great. So far, these Tatuaje ones are showing they're gonna sell. They're gonna make money and they're gonna be great. And Carney's here with us. Crypto wasn't required for the golden NFT either. So thank you,
yeah,
John.
it's a prop. Yeah.
So, LFDs was successful. As a manufacturer, they're the ones who get the winning bid money, right? I mean, there's probably some costs with the auction site, but
Yeah, I'm sure
they
the auction
keep that,
platform.
and then they keep the money from the cigars that they sell to the holders. And the same thing with Tatuaje Smoke-In's Anarchy one. The Smoke-In ones are also, so far, they're selling for huge chunks of money.
Guess what? When money's being spent in our industry, guys, it's a good thing.
So
Money is being spent.
So at the end of the day,
It's good for us. It's good.
So at the end of the day, the manufacturers are still selling these.
Yeah.
So the question is, last year it was, all right, who does it next? Okay, Pete and Abe. Now who does it? Because I know that a third person's coming out with something like this, and they might put their own spin on it because everyone wants to do something different.
Yeah.
But the core concept, for the has worked so far for the most part. But who does it next? And we had this conversation last year, so now let's have it again. So who does it next? Do we see one of the big guys do it? Like Drew Estate? You're telling me you couldn't do one of these with a Liga Privada that you can only get through this?
They certainly have the arm to do it with Subculture Studios.
Yeah. They get the art and all that. And
Yeah.
Jonathan Drew, that's his thing. That's his thing.
I could see it. I could see Jonathan putting a completely different spin on this. That's what Jonathan does.
Paul beat us to it. When's the Dunbarton NFT happening?
Imagine if Steve did a Dunbarton NFT. I'm telling you, it'd be interesting to see how that would go, right? I don't know how it would go.
Honestly, Steve is not, and I love Steve, but realistically, I don't think Dunbarton is quite as big.
But
I'm
gonna give you a surprise one.
He could pull it off. He could,
Yeah.
and I think people would come out of the woodwork, and would go after a Dunbarton NFT. I really do. Just look at how people he puts out cigars. They're fucking gone.
Yeah. I have three in mind that are right at the top of my head.
Okay.
Besides George State, that was the fourth. Davidoff. Right. So that would be the first one to do it. The second one to do it would be Cohiba in the U.S. with General.
Yep.
On the Cohiba brand. And the third one would be Cohiba with Habanos.
Would Habanos do that, though?
I'm just saying they could probably do it if they wanted to. They can auction off. They don't have to do an NFT. They could just auction off. You don't have to do an NFT with this if you think about it, right? If you just forget the cryptocurrency thing. Just bid on it like a personal seat license, right?
It's true.
Yeah. What I would like to really see with this, right? I'd like to see someone do this, and I know this is about making money. I would like to see a big charitable component with some of this, where this is being used not only to, you want to make some money on this, fine, but a portion of this goes to, and if any of these NFTs are doing this already, please let me know. But I'd like to really see this for a cause.
You know how that would go down? If Arturo Fuente
And I'm not
did it,
begrudging anyone who didn't do that. Yeah, for the Charitable Champion Foundation. I could see
that's
them
what it
doing
would
that,
be.
Yeah.
They would do it.
Yeah.
And they would do it with an
everyone's-
Opus X, and all the money would go to CFCF. And I think that'd be great.
They could that maybe they do that. And I'm not begrudging anyone not to make money. So because I said this is all about money, but it would be a nice thing because to see some of these when some of this money goes. I see people bid on the stuff at Pro Cigar and Habanos for charities. This wouldn't be a bad thing to have a component for that, and I think we'll see something like that down the road.
Well, it won't be
but
Habanos
I
because
think
Habanos they would do charity.
they do charity, but it's for their charity. It's for them.
For them. I'm talking about real charity.
Well, yeah. So it's it all goes to Caesar down there, right? But no, I would. I think Davidoff's an interesting one because I think they have partners in this space, like with the humidors, and they do those basket weaving, those ones with the Mac. I don't forget what it's called. They have a lot of things that they can do with that, and it's a global brand, right? So I can see Davidoff doing it as a big thing with that too. But I would not rule out General's kind of funny, right? And STG I'm talking about. And they would do a Cohiba. We know the brand they do it with. They tend to kind of see something and then try to get in on it, right? And I'm not shy to say this, right? So I could see them looking at the Cohiba brand and saying, "We got freaking Cohiba here. It's our flagship line in the portfolio. Why aren't we trying to do this?" Right? And by the way, we have a much bigger arm than Abe and than LFD, right? Why can't we Why can't we bring in $1 million, right? So, like I said, that's the one I would see most likely to do it.
Bear
made
a comment here. Arturo Fuente and Jason Newman's charitable work may be second to none in the industry, but they aren't the only cigar company that does awesome charitable work. No, but we didn't say that.
I don't think it was saying that. Yeah.
No. But, that's just like that's just I think one of the first big ones that comes to mind.
Yeah. And look, this.
But
is
I
not
agree with you, Bear.
LFD.
I agree.
This is not begrudging LFD, Tatuaje, and Abe because these guys do a lot of give back into this industry.
Do.
So I'm not at all judging that. I think God bless them that they're all making money with it. But maybe at some point this could be a campaign for something, a campaign revolving around it. That's all I'm saying. But I don't begrudge anyone for making money on it. I want to be very, very clear on that.
It's like I said before. It would be a different spin if for the next person or whoever.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we're gonna do something more towards charity with it, and that's how. Yeah. But again, because people can keep doing this, and I think people will. I think you'll see another one like this come out, but it's an idea, and I think it's one of those things that someone could be like, oh, how do we do it different? Well, our thing is we're trying to do some charity with it. That's just another way that someone positions it, which I think could still happen.
We should point out that Selected Tobacco and United Cigars did give money to Cigar Rights of the World for that. They did so I want to make that very. They already did it. So I think and that's something I thought of. So they have done that part already. I'm not sure what Cigar Rights of the World is at this point, but it's not dead, is what I'll tell you either. So, they did something. That was the whole intent of that. They gave the money to Cigar Rights of the World. So they did do that already. But again, there's a little difference, like you said. So I don't want to forget that piece.
That's true.
Yeah.
Bear said, why doesn't the CRA get into this? Speaking of charity. Interesting.
Well, I think CRA's got enough on their plate right now.
Yeah.
But like they have to look. I'll be honest. And I talked with CRA this week, by the way. They need to figure out how. And I've told them this. I said I shouldn't have to read about the sampler packs from another media brand. It's what I told them. I had a very frank. I said you should have every media site promoting those sampler packs, which are a huge fundraiser for that, and try to get as much reach as possible with that. So they took the feedback. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, the Cigar Rights of America is also the one that sent out the press release after the Meta ruling saying that they were the only ones that put all the money in to do all the work.
Well, I wrote in my article, which came out since the last show, and I said basically the industry is more divided than it was when this lawsuit started. So this is a good time, guys, to start mending fences and put egos aside here. And I know this is sensitive to a lot of people who did give money. So, but and I just
I know. And look, and here's the thing.
I want to be very. We know this story. We know there's a smaller group of companies that did give a lot of this money. So we want to be very clear. But a lot of those companies kept quiet about it too. So, maybe you got to be more open. Like my advice to them is be a lot more open. If you wrote a big check, don't be ashamed to say you wrote a big check here, because everyone will thank you guys for writing that big check.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's things I get it. I get it. Like, a company doesn't want to say they wrote a big check to this charity sometimes. I get that. But in this case, this was for an industry fight. I have no problem if company XYZ wants to say we wrote a $100,000 check. I have no problem. And guess what? I'll cover that. That's important.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
My only other point I wanted to make was I know that everybody was involved. I know everybody made it happen. I'm sure some maybe did a little bit more than others, but
Well,
I don't think that matters.
Some people a lot more than others, is what I'll say too.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw,
but,
Matt. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, look, I'll say this: if you took the time to go to Washington and sit in a meeting, thank you very much.
Yes.
I tip my hat to you, but again, I don't. If you contributed, I want to know how you contributed. Is what I'm just saying. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's
fair.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
There was I'm gonna cut this LFD now. I'm gonna smoke this because
this. By the way, this Oro Squirrel. Oh,
this 20th is amazing.
This is smoking. It's just rich tobacco flavor I'm getting from it. Oh.
I'm getting this thing all the way down to just about
Yeah.
nothing.
I was slow smoker. I didn't take a second cigar, but I'll have some here. I can pull out some.
There was something that we were going to definitely talk about this week. And I'm already blanking. And we talked about it yesterday on the phone.
I don't remember what it was.
Fuck.
Oh, Matt, you're the young guy. You're supposed to remember this stuff. I'm the
I
old guy
know.
for
well,
this
it's been a busy week.
Yeah, I know.
Let me go back to my news. Maybe
There was no news this week. It was a dead week for news, by the way.
It was a dead.
Oh, but you know what? I gotta make this comment.
Yeah.
Have you been following the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival?
No, because I've been in the hospital.
Okay. So here's what I'm gonna just say. Okay. Today, very busy day for all the cigar companies at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival. They worked hard. Yesterday, going on the brewery tours around the city for some of them. I'm sorry, you guys took the day off. There's no way I'm going to tell you that. You took the day off for brewery tours. I saw half the industry on this brewery tour stuff yesterday. I'm like, guys, you took the day off. Just admit it. Because I made a comment to Terrence. It's like, not a lot of cigars being sold there. And by the way, I was told this from people who were at Rocky Mountain that, yeah, people take the day off to go on the brewery tours. So, with the dojo guys. So, I'm going to be, I want to hold that topic for next week with Kevin, who is out there right now.
Yeah.
And I do want to have a conversation with Kevin about that. I'm interested about the festival itself. So, we're going to be doing tomorrow night on Bear Show. We're going to be doing the Appalachian mountain version of this festival. So
I saw that.
We're calling it the half Appalachian. We'll get into that tomorrow. So we're going to have our own little festival tomorrow, and we will be working tomorrow on that. So,
I did see that.
But yeah, let's hold the Rocky Mountains piece for Kevin, because Kevin may be able to give me a lot more insights into this. And by the way, I am having a little fun with this. I know that part of the cigar industry is relationship building, and that does, going on a tour with your customers isn't a bad thing. So I am kidding a little about it. So, but yeah, it was a day off for you guys. Hey, look at it. But today these guys work really hard today. So I'm not talking about today.
Rocky Mountain is one that I think we'll get to eventually, but
those guys are great guys. I'd love to go out there and support. It's been a timing issue for me.
Yeah, but it's always been, because it's like because it's not right after, but it's after the trade show, and then scheduling. I mean, and especially Q1 next year, really gonna suck. It's just everything going on, and there's so many things I want to get to, but I can only get to so much.
It's a tough one. But like I said, if there's one I want to go to and support the guys who do it, it's the smoker friendly guys, who are great guys. They've always reached out to me and they want me to come, and they said we'll accommodate you however you need to be accommodated. So believe me, it's not that I'm blowing you guys up. It's just been a timing. It is a timing issue.
Yeah, that's what it is
lately
for me.
I've had to be a lot more sensitive with my time lately. So
with the trade show leaving July, you
it
get everything done at the
things.
beginning of the year, and then by the time you get to August, it's like, well, I haven't really gone anywhere in a while, so.
Yeah, that's gonna be big. But then, am I gonna have to blow half my vacation before April next year? If I do the vacation with my wife, that's gonna be tough next year. So if we go to Austria, so That's why I don't know if I could go next year either, but there's going to be a future to go there, and I will make it out there someday. So, like I said, the big herf events thing they're great to see our people and like our people in the industry, but they're not essential. They're not a thing that I have to really cover, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Going to like the festivals, there's some level coverage. It's not heavy, but when you go into the factories, there are things you can report on in the factories. So I think like Patrick and I were talking about this on when he was on the other night on our show, and Patrick made some very interesting observations in the factories that he reported on. Like the big thing, the age demographics. Like he's noticed the factory workers are getting younger.
Yep.
So little things like that we're able to report on. With that, I know there was one year I reported that the Reyes is growing Dominican broadleaf and stuff like that. So there are things we can report on with that. But a consumer event is, what are you going to report on? Well, the food was good. Even look, I love Great Smoke, but the food was good. Yeah, I hung out. I got my picture taken with Steve Saka. And it's like either people. And guess what? People really don't want to read about that stuff. So is what I found. So they're like, yeah, here's your media guys again getting free cigars. So.
I think I remembered. I'm gonna send you a message really quick.
Okay.
Sorry, I hate to do it like this on the air, but I also want to make sure.
Okay.
We're in the right spot here. I think that's what it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you can go ahead.
Okay.
I mean, we'll be cool, but yeah. Because this came up on my show. On Thursday night.
So I remember what it was. The other thing we were going to talk about, and I was going to talk about this with you. So I did kind of like my formal wrap up. I think there's still a couple of things on the PCA we're going to put out, but for the most part, the bulk of our coverage has been completed. So right. I did kind of this final thoughts thing. Which most of the other media sites have done. I think you've done, and Half Wheel's done.
Yep.
Just kind of like bullet points of like just overall things. And
yeah, you didn't put 5,000 words like me, luckily, though.
Well,
Good for you. By the way, good for you. I'm praising you on that.
And one of the things I put.
I had too many. Go ahead,
it's all right.
I had too many words.
It's all right. Yeah. You still got too many words.
Yeah, go ahead. Exactly, I did. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. You talk.
It's okay. But one of the things I put in there, I think was probably the thing I wrote the most about, which then, I got a lot of feedback on, obviously. What a surprise. Was I talked a lot about the PCA doing media and how, as media, it's being taken and perceived. And I know that there's a lot of other media who feel kind of the same way that I do. And I don't think everyone's speaking out about it. For what reason? I think I know a couple, but it doesn't matter. I say what I want to say because I want to and I can, and it's my website. I'll do what I want. But I like to just put it out there, and I try to do it. Look, whenever you be negative about something, people are always going to assume you're being a dick. But I try to always put it in a position where it's like I'm just trying to put my whole case out there. And explain and just back up, why I say what I say. Like, oh, well, the PCA is doing media, and I don't think it's great for the media. I don't just write that and walk away. I'm like, well, and of course, people are going to argue with you, and people are going to disagree with you. But if you're not doing media, then you're never really going to get it. You can try to explain why you think it's one way or the other, but it's for me one of the biggest things is. Coop and I and Charlie and, developing pallets, we all pay dues to the PCA, which we gladly do because it supports the industry, as has been demonstrated in the last few weeks. But at the end of the day, we're paying an organization who's now competing for stories against us. And then you get people like, well, that's what media does. And it's like, yes, that's what I do with Coop and what Charlie does with me, but not what we should be doing with the PCA. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't really sit well with most of us on, having competing stories from a trade organization. And Coop.
Matt, let me ask you a question. Before you go on.
You
don't have to say specifically When you say you got feedback on this, did you get it from the PCA, a retailer, or a manufacturer?
In terms of people who were disagreeing with what I
Comment
said?
who said where they push back on you after because you said you got feedback on this. So I'm not asking you to name. If you don't want to name PCA, that's fine. But was it retailer or manufacturer who said this? Is my question. I'm just curious where was the customers who made the feedback? I'm just kind of curious. Consumers.
There was a few consumers, which don't get me wrong, I love and appreciate.
Right.
But respectfully, it's difficult for those people to understand because they're not doing it every day. Because
yes, I agree.
They have to,
I agree.
Yeah, they from the outside it may seem one way, but when you're doing this every day and you're just in this circus, and you have skin in the game, and there's money that you've spent to do what we do. It's different. I have heard from some retailers. And I heard from one person from the PCA, which I haven't followed up with to see if, but that's irrelevant.
You're a little busy. You're a little busy this week. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you should follow up with that PCA, by the way. You should absolutely follow that up. You owe it to them to do that. Yeah, you owe that part to do it.
Oh,
yes.
And I did hear from a manufacturer. Right. Who it's. How do I want to say this? I won't name names, but I had a manufacturer come to me and say, it's it's not the PCA that you should point the finger at. It's the person doing it for the PCA, essentially.
No, he's a good. Someone's got to be directing him to do this. If I'm spending time on making a report for something that has no value to my business, my boss is gonna say something to me.
Right.
So in the end, if someone's doing activities on the clock, they should be questioned on what's the value bringing in for these activities. So I don't agree with that piece. By the way, what people said.
I think the person's doing what they know to do because they already come from media.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my argument was, but that person was hired by the PCA to do a task. So maybe they're not calling every shot, but I think that the intention was made clear, this is what we want you to do. That's kind of how I interpret it.
Yeah. Let me, because I have some opinions on this, right? And I haven't really talked about the opinions on it. So let me just talk about the context that Patrick brought this up on in the media. And we were saying it wasn't really a press conference, right?
Yeah, because you guys talked about this on your show, right?
Patrick, I asked Patrick about this, right? And Patrick was like, by the way, and he was very, and his issue was specifically around Nova Cigars, and I'm going to say this one because it was said on my show, that Nova Cigars basically sent cigars to the PCA for review and sent all the information about those cigars to the PCA for review, bypassing the media, right? So,
with the intent of having a media coverage.
Right, and with the intent of having media coverage. Now, who's the blame on that one? Should Nova have gone to the media? Should PCA have said, hey, are you sending this? That's not important. But the point is they took that story and ran with it. And I had to make a priority decision at the trade show this year of what booths to go to. And I wanted to go to the Nova booth so bad. I had to make a decision. They bypassed the media here. I got to go to companies that did not bypass media and were working with us. So it was not a good thing. And by the way, it did take a story away from us. No matter how you look at that story, that story got taken away. So why is that okay to do is my question. And what's the end value of that, right? And the question is, will more companies start to do that, right? I think there's a business conversation that needs to happen from both the media brands, which I'm planning on having a business conversation on this with charts and explaining our business model. And I think PCA needs to explain why this is good for their business to do it as well. Those conversations have not happened. That is why I've been very quiet. I just want to know, I've been publicly quiet on it because I believe those conversations need to happen. I'm not trying to criticize you. But
no.
I told you, I made that decision that I'm going to do that, and I've changed direction on this since the trade show. I did talk to them privately on this and told them I agree with Patrick, just so you know. But because even Patrick was surprised I didn't speak up on that. But I'm like, yeah, there was a couple of other incidents that happened too. But so I'm going to tell you my business model and explain to you how this is damaging my business model, okay? Which I think I have, that needs to be articulated in a very crisp way. And I think PCA needs to go, okay, here's why this is good for our business, and let's get this on the table and explain the issue right now with it. Because right now, I think there's a clear disagreement with some of the leading media people and PCA on this. So that's why I've held back on this. I need to understand where they're coming from with this, and I don't think I have that clarity yet.
That's well said.
Yeah. That's why I think it's important you have that conversation. I will be having a conversation with the PCA. I've been working on a PowerPoint deck to kind of explain the whole business model of Cigar Coop, and explain, how we work and how we're very news driven and stuff like that. And I'm gonna explain that to them, and I'm gonna show them, okay, this is where it hurts us, okay, and this is where it makes our costs go. But Patrick had a totally valid point in that meeting, and I applauded him for speaking up on that. And Antoine was in that meeting. Antoine's the resource photographer. Antoine's a great guy, by the way. I like Antoine a lot. Right.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted.
This conversation, I need to have this with board members, this presentation, and with the executive team at PCA. They need to see this PowerPoint. I may even need to go to Washington and actually do it in person, so I make sure I have their attention in a room. Because I don't want to do it on a Zoom and then have nobody's attention. I don't want to send the PowerPoint deck out to them and it doesn't get read. So actually, that's how I'm actually thinking of this right now, to do this, right? Because and I haven't talked to PCA about doing this yet, by the way, just so you know. So if they're hearing this, they could, we could talk about it. But I want to understand and I want them to explain it to me as well, on that, because I think I think media has a valid gripe here. Do I think that Antoine reprinting a press release is hurting me? No, but there's specific cases where it has hurt us, and that Nova one was a big example of that. And at that point, I'm like, do I spend the time now chasing down this Nova stuff? Well, I looked at it, I'm like, Nova is probably not getting me the traffic that I could spend time chasing down Oliva stuff. That's kind of, because Oliva, I'm just I look at it like that. I'm like, is my time really valuable now following up with Leo on that stuff? And nothing against Leo, but I can't say it was at that point. To get that story, I would have had to do a lot more work at this point. And guess what? Someone else already had it, the PCA. So why would I spend the effort to do that, is my point. You went and bypassed me. Do I think it was intentional? No, I don't think it was an intentional move. I think that this is people not understanding our business.
I think so.
Yeah, and Dan's right. You got to seek first to understand this. And I think it's a more complicated issue than, and like I said, I have not heard them give... At the meeting, I don't feel that PCA gave me their business reasons, and I think you could agree with that.
Yep.
The reaction was like, well, we're trying to reach out to people. Okay, how is bypassing your media partners here? That's where I think these are hard questions that need to happen in a room face to face. So, and that's why people ask me why I've been quiet. That's why I've been quiet on it. And that was just my call to make it, because I really, Dan's back. I want to seek to understand this, and I want them to understand where we're coming from.
This is true.
Yeah.
But
you have a right, Matt. You have a right to write what you did, by the way.
Yeah,
You had every right to write that. And Patrick had every right to say something at that meeting that day. He had every right to do that.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's like people could say like, oh, well, the media had fair chance to speak about.
They didn't have a fair chance. They didn't have a fair chance with that.
Yeah, essentially. And I can tell you that the topic of conversation, it's with my fellow media people, it's all that was talked about after the press conference. So I think in time you're going to hear more about it. And I think, like with Coop just said, I think is one of those ways. But yeah, I mean, it's this, and there's some other things that have been talked about on the media front with PCA recently that have been rumbling around. That I don't know.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
We could say it because I think it's been said to the media, right? It hasn't been said in a
Tell us.
Well, you had the conversation. You had the conversation with this person. I didn't. So. But I'll tee it up for you because I don't have a lot more. Because I didn't have. Is the idea of having Media Row again has come up?
Oh, I thought that was you who had the conversation.
No, someone had a conversation with someone about that.
I don't think that was me because I heard about that from you.
Okay, then someone had a conversation. I don't remember who it was with someone on that. So, but I've heard rumblings, and like I said, I was told this that they're looking at Media Row, and I'm going to just say what my answer is because I've said this publicly on many shows over the years. If Media Row is there, we will not participate. Will be the first thing because it's again we want to be on the floor covering people at the booth, vibe of the show, seeing the product, right? Because we're product-driven coverage, right? But I will tell you, if we start getting pushback from manufacturers saying we're not going to take a appointment with you at a booth, you have to go to this row, we're going to have to reconsider what we're doing with the show going forward. I mean, it's just no way I'm going to ever not be allowed to go in a booth. And I'm worried that could happen with this. This is not the Super Bowl, okay, guys? I hear everyone wants to complain that Media Row at the Super Bowl. This is not the Super Bowl, okay? This is the PCA, all right? And guess what? Media people are allowed to go in and watch the game, okay? And there's people who are out on the field to do, there's a certain amount of reporters who have credentials to go on the field and do interviews. It's different. Like I said, I have other platforms that I don't really need to get 5 minutes where I'm not seeing the product with anyone. And I'm right next to a competitor who's probably asking similar questions here. So what I'm saying is I would have to reconsider. If I saw that be a problem, I wouldn't participate in the Media Row. But if it started to be a problem entering booths, that's when I have to reconsider what I'm doing. I
agree. Because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen right now. If it comes down to that, and it's like, okay, well,
I don't think it will happen, by the way, because they've tried this a couple of times. I've heard it suggested, and it gets shot down by everyone. So I don't think it will happen, but it's come up again this year, is what I heard.
Well, here's the other problem, too. You're telling me that, several high-profile manufacturers are going to take the time to leave their booth for an hour or two each day to go and talk to the media?
They'll argue that Pravada did it this year. And they did. And by the way, Pravada, I'm not knocking them. They did a nice job with their coverage. But I thought the Pravada coverage was lacking because it did not have the vibe of the show at the booth. It was like you were in this little studio having a one-on-one, which I get there's some value, but people want to hear about the show. They're not looking at the one-on-one interviews. We have the podcast to do one-on-one interviews. And like all the videos have been done, Smoking Tobacco, how about that cigar, the half wheel videos, my videos, Dojo, they all have an element that look, I wasn't a fan of the Dojo TikTok stuff this year, but guess what? They got hits on it, and it gave people a different perspective of the show from the floor. And I give them a lot of credit for that, right? So not my thing, but that's fine. Bear was great on our team. He combined what's going on at the show to themes that were going on, and he was just able to adjust things and if he wasn't in the booth, I guarantee that it would not be the same product we had. The fact he was in the booth made a huge difference. I don't think they would ever ban us from coming in the booth, but my problem is the manufacturers may push back on that, saying, well, why am I going out here and then I have to have you guys come in the booth? That's where I'm concerned if that happens. That's why that's a big, I don't think, this has happened 3 or 4 times it's been suggested in the past. It never goes anywhere. But I still think it's a topic to bring up and make our feelings on it.
I think Dan Thompson agrees with us based on his comments.
Yeah.
The NFL is one of the most unique media environments in the world.
I wrote an article a few years ago on Coop, and it was all about why does media go to PCA, right? I'm going to tell you the roots of this happened about when I was first starting out in 2008 when Facebook was starting to come up, right? What happened is people started putting pictures up at the booths, right? These booth pictures are not the Rocky Mountain tablecloth booths, right? They're intricate booths. There's a theme. There's a vibe going on. There's products being displayed, and there was a thirst to find out more information. And then I look at guys like Ben Lee, who was a pioneer, and he was the first guy to do video, right? They were doing video before anyone else was doing video. We're fortunate to have him. It started showing a different dimension. Guess what? People wanted to see this stuff. You had very good traffic this year. I saw your traffic. Some of your, at least some of the stuff that's been published, right? It had to be good traffic for you guys. This had to be a great venture that people would not have seen any other way from a Super Bowl row.
No, yeah, 100%. People want to see stuff on display. I think even if they're not there, I think people enjoy seeing that aspect of oh wow, look at they have the stuff on display. like it's special. Like that's important. Like, oh wow, like Pete Johnson has, you know, stuff like in a glass display case. Like, oh shit, like it's subconsciously in their mind. Like, oh shit, like look at this, like look at this on display.
Well,
Look
like
at this
Andy
new
Green
products
taking
coming out.
us
These
around
are a
the
big deal. And they see it in a shop and they're like, oh man, like I gotta get those. That was like a big deal. Like I know because I've heard from people who ask me when they see the stuff that we post from the show.
Right.
And they ask me
Well,
about
Nick
it.
Perdomo,
And,
yeah.
And then like it comes out in stores and people rush to buy it because, you know, they see it all before it comes out. Like not just someone talking about it. You know, they go to the articles, they see the photos and like, oh shit, look at that. You know, they don't want to like watch.
We
a
just
video
talked about.
and hear
We just talked
it,
about.
like,
We just talked about my father. Yeah, we just talked about my father. Right.
Yeah. Same
Could
thing.
you have seen that without going into the booth?
No. Especially considering that they didn't really talk about it unless you asked. So if I didn't walk in the booth and go, oh, what's this all about? Oh, well, yeah. You know, you ask them, what do you have coming out that's new? Oh, we got this, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. What about that?
Well,
oh, yeah, well, we're doing that too. Not, you know, that they wouldn't, but, like, just as there's companies out there that might. Like, you see, sometimes you see stuff that they don't mention because maybe they forget about it or there's another release that they really want to push and maybe the other release is, well, you know. But, you know, you got to see it and be like, well, what about this? Well, why is this here? Oh, well, that's something we're doing, you know, and you have to, sometimes you got to feed them, too, like, on what to talk about. And, you know, if you don't see what's there, you know, and they come to just talk to you, you know, it's, sometimes you miss stuff.
I can give you a ton of examples, right? So I mentioned my father. You would not have been able to see that humidors in the glass cases for that. Nick Perdomo, okay, he could have brought boxes over to Media Row, right? But guess what? Did you see how he had the boxes laid out like a retail display? And you looked at how that was, and it was eye popping, right? It was something that you could see very clearly. Yeah, very clearly. Andy Green taking us around the booth and showing us just how these colors, how the different colors with the La Aroma de Cubas were meshing with the other product. I mean, it was all these little things that. That's why we go to the show. It's not for me to get because we have a podcast for one end, but the show is about showcasing what's being exhibited there, getting a theme from that. And you know what? There's questions, and this is why I really give Bear a lot of credit. He knew to ask some questions on things that maybe weren't on display, and he did a really good job on it. McAuliffe, Dan. So did you notice at McAuliffe they had all the black and gold in there?
Yep.
That tells me, wow, they're really pushing this branding with the black and the gold here. I don't know if I would have been able to see that as easily if they came out there. So there's a lot of little things in there that make this. And I don't think the PCA would ever tell us you can't walk the floor. I don't think they would ever do that. I just worry if they try to change the coverage model, that it could have some effect if someone says we're not going to take time with you in the booth. I think most companies would still take time, but I could see some companies not doing it.
I mean, it makes our job more difficult too. You know, you go around the booth and just to look at stuff, then you gotta like ask them about it later. And you know,
Dan's right on that. Media Row is designed. Yeah, that's what Dan. Media Row also has like there's always stories that break out at the Super Bowl that people are looking to capture on that Media Row. You know. It's not related to the end product of the game half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the same thing. Not going into the booth is just the biggest thing. I mean, and not having the experience in the booth. I mean, that's why you fucking go. I mean, I could have Michael Herklotz come on the show like he did last week and talk to me about Suma and be done with it, you know. But I go to the trade show to see it on display. And to talk about it and show it and show people like look what's coming out, like this is it right here, look at it on display, isn't this cool? And then when it comes out to stores, it's like, oh shit, I remember that, I want that box. They call people like Jay Davis. I go, oh Jay, I saw online that they got this. When are those coming out? Can I get those? Oh, I love that. Oh, excuse me, sorry, that one snuck up on me. You know, I saw this. Ferry Otego is coming out with this box of, you know, Suma. Like, I really want, like, can I get those? Like, you know, that is real. Yep. I mean, people see things, and they start calling the retailers for it. It's like the core. It's like the very core of why we do what we do. I mean, it's Media 101. I mean, it's our job. You know.
Excuse me.
Not that the podcasts are not effective. They are, because
It's a different platform.
It's a different, yeah, it's a whole different thing. It's not just for announcements. There's other things we get into. But the show
we're
is
trying to cover it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's just little things that all add up. I will tell you this. So I had Steve Wilkes on our show back in July. He is the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, former head coach of the Panthers. I did talk to Steve's agent, how I got on that show, and that was because I got connected with his agent. And his agent told me, we were just talking. He said, look, if you want to go to Media Row, he goes, I could probably make it happen, right? It's a Super Bowl. He said, that's going to be a terrible place for you to go, is what he said. He said, there's other NFL things that go on that you could probably be better suited for. He said, but that's going to a cigar discussion is going to get lost in there because it's such a niche product. And he's right. So again, the Super Bowl thing is just, it's a different thing. It's a different animal completely. And by the way, have you seen, like, I talk about book tours in the cigar industry? Like when a company goes on all these shows?
Oh, yeah, I know.
Have you seen those radio, like, look, I listen to a lot of sports radio. I listen to, like, 3 or 4 different cities sports radio. I've heard the same interview with all these guys, too. I don't want the same. We're trying to all get a unique edge on that.
Sorry. Jay Davis had said, proves my point. Whenever Cigar Media posts something at the show about a new product or program, my phone blows up, as it should. And if it does, it means we did our job correctly.
Yep. I mean, I remember another one, the Illusione booth last year, when they did the new rebranding.
Yep.
People saw the rebranding in my article, right? But if you didn't see those products in person, you didn't get the same feel from it from a video or photos. You had to go see that thing in person because it just was an intangible quality, and you said, this is a good thing. This is not a bad thing. It was, and it's worked out well for them so far. And I think, so like I said, I don't think this is something intentionally meant to keep the media out, but I am concerned that they may try to, and the other thing that comes up all the time, Matt, and we've heard this, I lost a sale because of influencer XYZ. And I've said this on the show. I've never heard of a retailer say they walked away from a booth, right, because a media person got in the way. If there was, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you anonymously. I'd love to have that conversation to understand it. And I've said this for 6 or 7 years. Not one person has ever talked to me about it. So, manufacturer or retailer. Like, okay, if it's happened, I want to understand it. You'll have total anonymity. People, I think, could trust me on that. I won't give names, but I want to kind of understand the dynamic, how that, because I don't believe that's happened. I think that, and in the end, like, I was talking, on this with someone. In the end, it's the manufacturer's responsibility to boot someone out of the booth that shouldn't be there. It's not PCA's responsibility. It's your responsibility. You don't want to spend time with someone at the booth, and you boot them out, and you deal with the consequences if they're booted out.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing. I've had people say the same things to me. And,
Like I said, this one's been around for a decade.
Yeah.
Like,
I know it's not new.
Sale.
I know it's not new.
It's not new. It's not new. And by the way, if it was one sale, I'd like to understand. It's not a ton. It's such an easy excuse to do, right? Because you don't have to prove anything with it, right? But if there's someone, I really would like to it goes back to Dan said, I'm seeking to understand. I'm not going to write an expose on this. If I understand what happened, then I can be more intelligently respond to when things happen like this to get the other point of view. No one has ever wanted to explain the other, like, the people who are making these accusations have never once tried to explain how it's a problem. And instead, like, did you think at the PCA press conference, Matt, when Scott brought up the other media people, it's not you guys, but he's telling us that, right? He put us on notice. Like, whether you realize, that was putting us on notice, right? That was like, you guys better behave. That was how I took that. I'm like, if no one in the room was affected by this, why are they even bringing it up?
I also do think there is part of that I think that Scott and those other members of the board, like Jay's here with us.
Jay's awesome, man.
I
can always lean on Jay with stuff. Yeah,
I think they do recognize. How do I say this? I think they do to what you just said. I think they do recognize that there are some of us who they do know follow the rules because we do operate differently, and we do hold ourselves to a much higher standard of professionalism. So I don't think it's completely like a threat against us or whatever. Or however
it was no. There was
but
what
I also
purpose did it do?
but I also think it was like, you know, hey, like, because it was said like, well, it doesn't affect anyone who's in this room, because if you're in this room, I took it like, I mean, if you're in this room, it's because, you know, you're serious media. So, like, we're not worried about you.
But
we do know there's other people. I do think it's like, I mean, if any of you ever fucked around, like, you'd find out. But I don't. But at the same time, I don't think you will, because we know who you are and how you operate.
Yeah, here's what I would say. I made a mistake when that happened, right? And I actually I think I talked to Patrick about this off the air. I should have, at that point, said, and I didn't speak up on this, and I take full responsibility. Okay, Scott, help me understand what happened in these cases. And no one did that, and I didn't do it either. So shame on me. Again, I didn't take that step because I think it was a missed opportunity to understand if this really happened. Okay, you don't have to get take me through what happened here. Okay, because I'm sure. And if, by the way, if PCA can't take me through what happened here, then it's hearsay at that point. And it's you know, there was one year they were accusing a guy of stealing stuff from the booth. Like, they accused a media guy from stealing stuff. And I know this media guy, by the way. He doesn't steal, right? But he, you know, he sometimes could be, the one media guy could maybe get a little aggressive sometimes. I get it. But then they basically were saying that people were stealing from the trade show. And oh, by the way, you know, that's not, look, I know retailers who have taken stuff at the trade show. I've seen it happen, right? We you know, but again, it was, well, I saw a media guy do it. It was like, well, is that hearsay? Okay, give me more details. And why wasn't something, if you saw a media person happen, why wasn't that media person disciplined if that happened? Like, why didn't something happen with that is my question, right? So, you know, I hear this, but then, so that was my missed opportunity with that. I should have, and that, if this ever comes up again, I will guarantee you I will be the first to speak on this.
I agree. I mean, I haven't been around as long as you have, so I haven't really heard a lot of stuff like that. Not that I don't think it exists. I did see, I think, and I don't think it pertained to media. I think I think it pertained to people who weren't even involved in the industry. But I don't know if you went by Grey Cliff at all.
Oh, I did not go to Grey Cliff this year.
Grey Cliff had a sign. And dance it. Booth theft is real, by the way. It happened in the first hour.
Oh, it
happened.
Of the show. It does happen, but they immediately, it was how the accusations went that year when it happened.
Grey Cliff had a sign at their booth that said, "Oh, like, you know, keep an eye on, you know, theft," and something about. We have a picture of it somewhere. I'll have to find it, but something about, actually, I know it's in my Dropbox. And it said something along the lines of, like, last night, meaning, like, after the show was closed and people, you know, left the show floor for the night.
Right.
You know, somebody has access to that show floor when we're not in there at nighttime, and things get taken out of booths. So that's also a thing.
And guess what?
It has nothing to do with us, but...
And guess what? But no, it does, Matt, because sometimes we're on the floor a little later, okay? I'll be honest, we are.
Yeah, that's true.
You want to be careful. You want to be careful, and basically you want to have an alibi where you were. So like, most of the time when we're at one booth, we don't move around the floor at that point. But yeah, you do. You want to be a little careful with that too. I mean, you don't want to you should not be wandering the floor at like 6:30 when these booths are unattended. I agree on that.
Yeah, that's true. Because then, you know, but at the same time, if I stay past closing time, it's because I'm in a booth in the middle of a conversation, and like the show ends for the day. But guess what? I'm in a meeting with somebody, and I'm not just gonna get up and leave because that manufacturer wants me to stay there and talk to them.
Right.
So I'm not gonna leave.
And it was,
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to the PCA too. I mean, business is business. I mean,
yeah.
If I'm there and they want to talk to me, I'm like, it's 5 o'clock. I gotta go. They're gonna be like, no, let's talk about this. Like.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm not gonna wander around when it's empty because there's no reason to. And to be honest with you, if you're you know, a real media person, you shouldn't even be there wandering around with nothing going on because you have hundreds of other things that you should be doing with that time.
Yeah.
So if you're wandering around at 6:30, then you're not really doing your job. Yeah. By 6:30, dude, I'm out. I got 3 things I gotta do.
So one more thing I want to mention, going back to the Antoine thing, because this came up with a few people. A few people said, and you probably saw these comments, and it was by more than one person. Just you guys complain all these years the PCA doesn't have a media presence, right? Here they go and hire someone, and you guys are complaining about it, right? And I saw this from several people, right?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Sure.
here's the answer. There's media liaison, and then there's journalist. The PCA is not there to be journalists. They're there to have conduit to everyone else. Right? They have a media liaison says conduit, and if they want to write for their own magazine, and stuff, they're not there. But their own magazine is kind of, again, it's a trade publication, right? They're not there to be, just because someone is in that role, it doesn't mean they're a journalist. Okay, they should be communicating. Like, I'll give you a great example, Matt. Okay, and I'm going off here, I know, but when the New Orleans announcement was made, right?
Yep.
We got the press release, right, in the middle of the breakfast. If they had a media liaison, what you do is you have the media liaison send that out at like 11 o'clock, right, and say, hey, at 12 o'clock, you guys can. This is a true press conference. I'm gonna be there as a communicator, and I'm gonna have the right people there where you can ask these questions, right? That would be the job of a media liaison. Instead, what happened is I saw PCA write about this just like all the other media. There wasn't a media liaison there. So there's a huge difference is what I'm saying. Yes, PCA needed a role as a media liaison. But what they don't need is, that's not what the media liaison, that doesn't mean a journalist where you're going and getting stories and that people are working on for weeks, and now suddenly you see it on my site and you decide you're going to report on it, right? Which has happened, right? So, I mean, that's what I'm saying is a big difference here in terms of that role. And that's where it goes back. I need to understand this a lot more.
So I found the thing I was talking about, not to like get off what you just said, because it's
no,
true.
I'm done with it. I talked more about this than I should have. But it came up the other night on my show, so I wanted to just say it.
But because I wanted to read this, it said, this is a sign that Greycliff had at the booth this year at the show. Do not assume that your booth is safe. Please be advised that we had several boxes of cigars stolen from our booth last night. We have had boxes of cigars also stolen at previous PCA shows. In addition, we had over 20 Greycliff watches stolen at a previous PCA show.
Matt Booth had stuff stolen one year.
Yep.
It's happened. It's happened. Matt didn't go accuse anyone, or he didn't accuse retailers or media of doing it, by the way. Matt was pissed. I could tell you a whole story. We can go on one time. Matt has jewelry lifted at the show. So, yeah, and I think I don't have a problem with Greycliff saying that, by the way, just because they're trying to create awareness here. But you have to treat this. You have to have some security if you have valuables there. Just got to say that. I don't know how they got Matt's jewelry because Matt does tend to be very locked down with his stuff too. So, jewelry I've seen. So I don't know how that possible someone did.
Matt's not a naive guy.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
knows.
And guess what? I'm sure it's possible that someone broke into the Greycliff booth with that and broke a lock or something like that. So, I think they're careful too. So, but I think that's not a bad thing that they did. Like I said, when it happened and we heard this media guy was accused of this, it's like, and he's not in the media, he's not in cigar media anymore. He's not a bad guy. It's like, yeah, okay, he's a little aggressive sometimes with trying to get a story, but not a thief. This guy's not a thief by any means. Not a thief at all.
Oh, there's a lot of comments here. What's Jay saying right here? I hate to say, but we had a lot of guys do like Nick and Foundation is they use dummy cigars in their new boxes to deal with thieves. They end up stealing fake stuff. Now, I don't know how you do that for a $10 million McAuliffe ashtray.
I think he meant a Septimo, but
yeah. Still, it sucks when retailers steal like that.
And they had a lot of security around those ashtrays, by the way.
They did.
They had a lot of security around those ashtrays. I don't know if it would have stopped a gang force from coming in and getting it, but they had security.
Not for nothing, but it's like, what about what Drew Estate does? You know what Drew Estate does.
Well, yeah. I mean, we just heard someone say that. They put fake cigars in there.
Not just that. They glue them into the box.
And people have I think Saka's glued it, and they've taken Saka's glued cigars.
Yeah, but it's even then you take the box. It's like, what are you gonna do? You gonna rip them out?
That's
like,
that's a general trade. That's not a cigar industry. I think that's a trade show problem in general of any type of expo. I'm sure this is not unique to our industry. But when you start accusing members of your organization of doing that, and by the way, a retailer should not be accused of taking anything either. If you see someone and you're thinking a comment that someone stole something, you better have a little evidence here to do it. And that's what I just don't think. I think we've just taken people. I think this industry has taken people's word for verbatim, and there's no investigation done into this stuff. And if it has been, I'd like to understand it, by the way. Someone could contact me privately and tell me, yeah, there was an investigation with this. This is what we looked at. I'm not looking for names again, but yeah. I'm tired of hearing this every year, and there's no evidence of it. It either happened. If it happened, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but either it happened or it didn't happen.
Oh, this is true. This is true. I mean,
by the way, I'm not beating the PCA up on this because they did a tremendous job with the show this year. And they have a lot on their plate with a very small staff. So, kudos to the PCA staff. I'm not trying to, but you know.
Well, they have so many, especially when the show's happening. There's so much going on too. I mean, it's hard to be all over everything.
Scott Pierce is accessible the whole trade show.
He is.
You need to get hold of Scott Pierce. You text him. Like they've made access to the. This wasn't the case when Mark Purcell was running the PCA. Or the guy before it, Bill, I forget his name.
IPCPR.
Bill Spahn was running it. IPCPR. Bill Spahn and Mark Purcell were not accessible. I can tell you that right now. Dawn, when she was there, was the only one who was somewhat accessible. So, you know, it's just, you know, and there are people in the media who have exhibited bad behavior, okay? I'm not going to get them off the hook. We've talked a lot about the examples of bad behavior in the previous. You can only rehash it. There are media people who have not been good citizens there either. It's happened for many years. So we're not. But I think sometimes when these things get directed, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there was a. Hold on, sorry. I don't want that to open. Yeah, no. I mean, there's, you know, not really a theft thing, right? But we've talked about in the past where, you know, media has been accused of, you know, going to the trade show just to trick or treat and take stuff. You know?
Oh, that's where we go, right? But not take stuff, but for free samples.
You go for the free
samples? That's why we go, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we go. Yeah. Go ahead.
We're only there for the free. Yeah.
That's the running joke,
you want to know
right?
why I haven't gone? And by the way, you want to know why I haven't gone into your retail store? Because when any retailer has said that, I will blacklist their store forever. And you know some retailers I've talked to about that.
Oh yeah.
You do not get a second chance at me. You say that, that's fine. I will never walk into your store. So.
Me too.
Yep.
It's true. You know, there's no reason to accuse.
Yeah, there's no reason to say that. You know, you want to say we don't belong for free sample? Really? Okay, then fine. I don't need that. I don't need to purchase from your store. So.
Well, you know, it's funny because they like to lay that blanket over everybody. But do you think that Charlie Minato and Brooks and all the guys at Half Wheel, I'm just going to use them as an example, right? Because do you think that they go to the trade show for free samples?
They don't review free samples. They stopped reviewing free samples. Like, even they don't review ones that are sent to them. Like, I know this came a great job, by the way, by them. It may be something I go to at some point. I haven't gone to that mile, but we don't review trade show samples. We want to see, touch, and taste the product. That's a different story. I'll smoke that stuff maybe on a show, right? But I can tell you those guys don't take free samples. They tell the companies, don't send the samples. So I know that for a fact. And I'll say something. I want to just say something about the Half Wheel guys. I know they're controversial, and I know you may not agree with what they write. I can honestly say that whole team has a lot of integrity. They've been professional. And you might not agree with what they write, but they have done a great job at covering this show for the past decade. So, and the amount of booze they covered in the previous years, they spend a lot of money to cover it. You don't like what they write, that's fine, but don't take that out on them on the show floor. They've never charged into a booze, like some people have, right? So, they've never interrupted. I mean, I can tell you, we have a good smile joke when we bump into each other at booze, and if they're there first, we leave them alone, and vice versa. So these guys are professional there. If you don't like what they write, that's another story. That's a conversation.
I agree.
For another time. Yeah. That's
I
a
agree.
conversation for another time. Yeah.
I mean, I walked into a booth and Charlie was sitting with someone, and I said, "Oh, I'll come back," and they're like, "No, we're just kind of, it's okay." And Charlie was like, "Yeah, sit down," and I was like, "All right." And me and Charlie sat down and we talked in the booth.
They have, and I'll say this:
they're great people.
I don't think I've had an issue with any media person with that. It may be one going back to the Cigar Dave days, but when he would just charge into and he would charge into a booth. But for the most part, I can't think of anyone who in the media, whether I like them or not, right, who I ever have had that issue with. So I think it's always been a two-way thing. I think there's always been you and I have been at the same booth a few times, and I'm like, hey, have at it, or you've said have at it with me. So like I said, I don't think that's ever a problem. But I do think there are half of the guys, and because I had a great conversation with Patrick. I've had Charlie on. I know Brooks, so all these guys. They have a lot of, don't get on them for how they cover the show, because they do a good job with it. And that includes the PCA. I know they've written things that you don't like, and that's certainly an issue you can address with them, by the way. That's certainly a valid issue, but they should be allowed to cover the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm getting caught up on the comments here. It was before my time, but I believe brands used to push back on Half Wheel being allowed into trade shows. They absolutely paved the way for it. Yeah, I mean, Coop's in that boat. Coop's been around a while, too.
Yeah. So, Danny, that's a great point. When I started covering the trade show, and I'm going to say 2011 was my first trade show, because 10 I was there as a buyer, so I don't really count that. What I discovered is a lot of companies didn't really understand what we were doing. Okay, and this goes back again to understand. So who are these guys? Like, you're the damn bloggers. Why are you here? Like, why could you possibly be here? And what's the logical thing that comes to mind? Well, they want free samples, right? So I think what happened is, and I'm going to give I'm going to put Half Wheel, Stogie Review, Stogie guys, myself, then the Dojo guys came on. I think as this stuff started, as we started covering it, we saw more doors get open. A great example is Alec Bradley. For years, I tried getting into the Alec Bradley booth. I couldn't get anywhere with that, right? And then, that started to peel the onion a bit. Alec Bradley is like a media darling today, right? So I think they didn't understand what we did. Much like now, I see the influencers are having the same problem. And yes, there were bad media guys when I was doing this, who were trick-or-treating, and there are bad influences that have come in the last few years. But there's also a lot of good influences that have come in, too. So but I don't think they understood what we did. And where I give Half Wheel a lot of credit is when they started covering 150 booths, right? That's all over the place. Now people are saying, well, okay, because Half Wheel was doing booth coverage before. I didn't do booth coverage until about 2018, right? Because I was a short team. It was just too hard. By 2018, when I started, then people understood, and it became much more, okay, these are the guys who are here every year. We see these guys here every year. We know what they're looking for. Some of them are clearly understand how we work the show every year. So it has gotten better, but I think they didn't understand why we were there back. Like, why are you guys there? We have Cigar Aficionado. That was really, that was how it was back then. So it's a good question. That was a good question.
Then we have another question from Dan.
And by the way, I agree with him. Half Wheel did a lot to pave the way for us. We got to give him credit on that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You can't.
Absolutely.
You can't.
When you cover 150 booths, the way they do. Yeah.
They cover more than that.
And look, they have a different approach. How we cover it a little differently than we do, because we do a little more. Like, they focus a lot on wrapper bind. Not only product, right? We focus on product, but now we've put this whole human interest thing on top of it.
And Dan has a question. Retailer media, what do you think? This is an interesting one.
Oh God. Okay. Here's what I'll say. You want to take this one first, or you want me?
Go ahead.
So there's two types. Like, okay, if Cigar Authority is on the trade show floor, I have no problem with that. Now, they are a legitimate media outlet that is owned by a retailer, but they operate in every form. They have good processes. They have the equipment. They know how to cover the show. I get that. and they have a true media arm. The same with Cigar Advisor. I think they have a true media arm, even though I know they're both skewed toward their retailer. This is a tough position to ask manufacturers to not cover these guys, right? Because, like, yeah, it's how can I put this? What if someone's putting a big order in, right? And they ask you to film a 15-minute video. How do you say no to that, right? And you don't want to put a manufacturer in to say no to that, right? So, and like I said, some of these guys do very good work, right? So I think the answer is yes, but I also think they should have to credential themselves as media to do it, so I think they should have to. That's why I really think there should be a media credential process, and they should not be getting a retailer badge. They should have to buy the media badge to do that. If they want to do it, that's fine and that means, if you have the media badge, you can't get in 2 hours early, you can't get in like a retailer or a manufacturer. You have to abide by the media rules. That's where I have they have a huge advantage to show floor time that we don't have. That's where I have the problem with it. So if they come in as credentialed media, and that the credentialing process, we've talked about that, needs improvement. But I think they have to come in as credentialed media to do it. Otherwise, they're getting an unfair advantage on time and everything like that.
I agree, because if they're not going to let us in before, then and then they get in as retail, but then they're also like doing media. It's like, well,
Yeah. So like I said, and Jay's right. We were despised. We were the damn bloggers. Scott has gone a long way for really, really. I was disappointed this year they didn't have the list of the media people like last year, but I didn't beat them up on that because they lost one of their key resources who did that last year. So
but Coop, but keep in mind they did that last year. That person did leave, but then this year they had their own media guy. So why are they going to promote us when they get their own guy?
Right. Well, fair point. But I think there was I'm not sure that that's the case, but yeah. Because I'll just say this about their guy.
That's what it looks like.
When he was at TPE, look, Matt, when he was with TPE and he was covering for Tobacco Business, Antoine was very, very helpful to me, okay, especially when I had to go interview Carl Malone. And his job was to write for Tobacco Business when he was on the show floor. He took time to help me out with that, right? So I don't think it's the person. I think you're right. But
well, I didn't. No. I'm not saying it's. I didn't say it was Antoine. I meant as PCA as a whole. It's like they didn't.
I think they just. I think they have to get. I think that's something we should have given them feedback on too, which we didn't. Saying, hey, that media list was so important for us to have that. If that can be brought back next year, I think that's something we can fix, and I think they would fix it.
Sure.
So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay's here. Jay has to be listening to this.
Yeah, but Alan, I can address this Alan point.
Oh.
Most companies don't have they don't have a marketing or media arm. It's only about 10 companies that can do that. And guess what? There are a lot of small companies we do need to cover that they don't have that. If you're the kind of guy, and look, there's one company out there. We know that they go and basically throw stuff on Instagram, hoping that someone in the media will give them not only press information, but give them collateral to use in their marketing materials. And I've not played ball with that company. So I'm not going to play ball with that because I can't do it. So we've seen that, with that. And, but yeah, like Tatuaje is a good example of this, right? I don't think they're big enough to have a media on, but guess what? Pete and that team in the last few years have really tried to improve a lot of things with the media, and they've done a great job. And they didn't necessarily have to hire a marketing person. It was just kind of they had to understand how to work with us. So I give them Tatuaje. I think has done a great job the last couple of years with the media. If you're complaining about getting Tatuaje access, you got a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Pete. Yeah, I mean, how great. I mean, Pete spends the whole time talking to media at this point. Same with Saka and everything.
I mean, I texted Pete when Jose's like, guys, I gotta go. I gotta take Jasper to the hospital. I was already texting Pete. I was like, some shit happened. Jose had to leave. Are you available to just come on right now and talk about NFT? Because I gotta pivot my show. And he's like, give me 2 minutes.
And Pete had a meeting.
He did. He took the time, and I have no idea how much I appreciate it. I kept telling him, like, Pete, when you gotta go, just go. Like, whatever. If you give me 30 seconds, I appreciate it. And he stayed off for like a while.
Yeah, Matt, what's your answer on that question about the retailer media that Dan asked?
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I'm curious on your thoughts. I gave you my spin on it, but I don't know what you think on that.
I think there's some interesting, like you mentioned Cigar Authority, another one's Cigar Hustler. You know what I mean? They're a retailer, but they also do a pretty prominent, media podcast, which is
But they
popular.
weren't going. They weren't going. Yeah, and they weren't really going into booze though. They
No,
had
they
their own
weren't.
little.
No, they weren't.
Yeah.
And I don't think they also use and abuse that either, because they're also exhibit. So they're a retailer. They do a little bit of media, but then they're an exhibitor as well. So they kind of have a little bit of going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think they're a good example of that.
Yeah,
There was a few retailers I saw putting clips online of them in the booths with the microphones interviewing people, and I was kind of like,
Yeah, but it's a tough one. Yeah, it's a tough one to do when someone's putting in a big.
I don't know. I didn't love it.
I understand it. Yeah, I don't know how. That's why I think if you make it a little tougher for them to do that. All right. You want to do that? That's fine. You have to abide by credential media process. I think that will make it. And yeah, you're not getting that for free. By the way, if you want someone to have a media badge, that's not coming out of your allotment. You have to pay for that.
Yeah, it should be governed separately. I agree.
Yeah.
It
should be. That's something I said to the PCA actually after our press, whatever you want to call it, the press thing. I talked to them. I said that's a problem. But again, I remember when Cigar Authority they used to do like 2-minute videos. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm like, they do a lot for the industry. Neptune had some good content. I'll say that. Neptune, they don't have a. Are they trying to build a media arm? If they are, all these people should have media passes. And guess what? I think they should be required to attend that Wednesday morning meeting. I think everyone in the media has to send one representative to that. Shame on you if you're not, and then you're going on a show and you're bitching about it. Shame on you for that, right?
I agree.
Yeah, that should be one person has to go to that, and I think they should do it before the floor, even before the show floor opens for media. That would be the one thing I would say. So you're not taking time away. But I think that should be required. And if you can't do that, then you don't get a media, and you lose your media credentials next year if you don't go. Unless you have a good reason. Yeah.
Alan does make an interesting point here. Online retailers that have quote-unquote media is more about improving their SEO to getting consumer buyers to their site. I don't feel they are really there to inform the public or compete with traditional online media. They are more so social media coordinators than media. And I think what Alan's trying to say is
they are competing. They are competing though.
They go there with the intent of like we're just trying to cover our customer base. Like, oh look, we're at the trade show and look what what's going on here. But at the same time, it's like whether you know it or not, or you're trying to or not, it becomes competitive.
If you're it's competitive because of time.
Yeah.
So if I am XYZ manufacturer talking to ABC Media, and JKL Media is waiting, right? Because he's been trying to get into this booth all day, and now he's waiting for someone who's not credentialed media. It is competing with us. It's because it's a time thing. I can't. When I have to say afterwards, I didn't have time to get to these booths afterwards, right? And I'm apologizing for stuff now, and because I was, I couldn't get into there was a couple I just couldn't get into that booth, and I had conversations with all these people, by the way, and they were very understanding about it too. So, but yeah, it's competing. Alan's right, different objective, but that's not what the competition is here.
Right.
I don't view Neptune cigars as competition for me in the media standpoint, but I do say they're competing for time on the trade show floor with me.
I agree, especially when manufacturers, they're in the booth for the 3 days. Well, it's 3 days now, but and media is just in and out, and they do a lot of it. And it's like, I know that they already feel like it's too much, and to some respects, I think there is a lot of people, but it doesn't help when you have people who are doing media work, but it's not. It's just for their own benefit of like their retail arm, but they're taking up media time versus people who are actually trying to do the real publicity part of it in general.
When it's at when you have, and it's gonna get worse next year with it being 3 days. So that's why I do think there is a competitive aspect. But do I lose sleep about Neptune's videos versus Coop videos? No, I don't even blink an eye on that.
Yeah.
And they may get more hits, but it's a different audience that's being targeted. And, it's not. I don't lose sleep with that. I lose sleep, like I said, when I can't get into a booth because someone just wrote a big order with you guys, and I'm not saying it was Neptune, there's other ones out there. They wrote a big order, and now they're asking you to do a video, and I'm trying to get to you guys all day. Yeah, that's a problem. So, for sure, that's a problem.
Sorry, I was gonna say something, but then I got distracted by the comments here. It's crazy how my mind wanders like that. Fuck. Just had something that I was gonna say. I hate when that happens. I think it had something to do with. I lost it. Oh well. Maybe it'll come back to me.
But it's funny. This is always a topic of like people love media versus the PCA. They love this, right? And it generates all this. When you people like, I hear people like, I don't pay attention to the PCA. Like, our numbers tell us otherwise. With this, people cannot get enough of this drama. It's the most. It's our version of General Hospital in the soap opera. This trade show. It
kind of is.
It really is. Like, who says what? Who's like talking behind someone's back, and who's plotting here, and who's like accusing here? It's like watching Dallas in the '80s again. Like, people cannot get enough of it, and we talk about it because people love it, and we don't ever solve the problems on here, but we get to talk, points of view here.
It's funny. I had a conversation with a manufacturer who listens to the show and said to me one time, "Oh yeah, like you guys talk a lot about PCA and stuff, but like how does it, relate to the consumer? Because a lot of consumers are listening to this, and they hear about certain topics you guys talk about, but like a lot of them probably feel like they can't really connect to it because it's a lot more industry driven, and if you're not in the industry, it's kind of irrelevant to you." And I think there's some truth to that, and I think we try to put it in a spin of how maybe it affects a consumer, but at the same time, I think a lot of the consumers who watch the show and do listen to it, I think Coop's right. I think a lot of them like to hear the stories and like the kind of like the
it's
behind the
inside,
curtain.
Yeah, I mean, I think they like that, but there are tangible things that some of these issues have tangible consequences going forward.
True.
Some of the things we talked about that will have effect. Like look, So I just did my wrap up of the show. We did 90 booth reports. We shot 74 videos. But that's because we did multiple videos at some booths, right? We ain't doing that next year because guess what? They cut a day of the trade show. So guess what? End consumer, you're probably going to see less companies next year. There's no way I can make that number next year, and it's unfortunate, right? You want to know why I couldn't get to a certain booth? I mean, and there's problems that we have sometimes with that. So it does have. And look, I still think there's an interest. Like people watch these videos and read these articles every year because they are interested in the products and stuff that we cover. They like the drama, but I think there are some tangible things you can look at. Now, media getting on the trade show floor at like 10 versus 9 o'clock may not sound like it's sexy for a like a consumer, but guess what? If we can get a couple more booths in now suddenly that does affect you when you do that. And guess what? You're going to learn about more products like that you may not get a chance to learn about until maybe your rep comes by or something like that, or someone else covers it. So I'm just saying it you may not think it does. It does. And, and like I said, when Nova gives a story to the PCA, I just told you, I made a decision. I had to deprioritize them. It was tough. And I didn't want. I love Leo. I think they're a great company. I don't think they did anything malicious. But I had to balance that off at this point and say, well, we can't spend time here, and unless we have time. We'll go there. But we had to deprioritize some stuff. So, it does affect it. It's just you may not see it directly. Yeah, but this is a good. I got this comment by Danny. I don't think the trade show is a place to learn about the blenders and the legacies, though. Because I think we have other platforms to do that. I think that is an important part of that. Hopefully our podcasts have done that over the years. Now, hearing Juicy Scenes news helps us connect to the products at a deeper level. That part I agree with.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that part I agree with 100%. And guess what? When you see, and I got to just toot our horn with the Pete Johnson interview. Because there's so much that Pete's been doing for this industry. that I don't think comes out except at the trade show, right? Like when we sat down, we did 33 minutes with Pete, right? Very long time, right? But I'm just telling you, there's things that when you hear Pete talk about certain things, you may not get that on our podcast because he's on the trade show, and he was giving good examples like with the CRA meeting and stuff like that happened. So there is some of that juicy stuff does help us get to understand that piece indirectly, where it was a little drama with some of that, but it helped us understand that, and you get Pete in a scenario like that, which is great. Sokka's gonna be Sokka no matter where he is, right? So, yes,
Sokka,
but yeah.
It's every year. It's always our longest interview at the show, but it also does the highest numbers.
Yeah, it also, but and this is why I gave is a bear, right? And this is bear. Like we took a challenge from Steve a couple of years ago. Steve did not want the same questions asked at every interview. Friggin' Bear took that as a personal challenge to like ask different questions, and go watch the video. Is all I'm saying. Tell me if he asked the same cookie cutter. That's why I came up with the no cookie cutter thing, right? He went and we took that challenge very seriously from Steve, and we did that with everybody, by the way. So, you'll never hear an interview with us say, "How's the trade show going?" You'll never hear that question. I only had one person tell me once it was sucked, and he's not in the business anymore. So,
well, we could really go down. We could really go down that rabbit hole, but I won't.
but when we like, for example, like with the legacies and stories, which I think is an extremely important piece to do, right? That's where I think our podcast is a better platform, and anyone's podcast is a better platform. Like you, like especially when we interviewed, like for example, Carlito Fuente, the 4-hour interview I did with him, like which thank you, Carlito, for taking that time. We just did this with an accessories guy, Michael Giordano. Like, when you hear this guy's story of how he started out in his parents' living room and stuff like that, like, wow. It's like, and a 15-minute, even a 30-minute trade show is not going to give you those types of stories. So I think there are platforms for that, and it's extremely important because that's why I think people connect with this industry so much. So I agree. The trade show may not be the best place to do it, is what I say sometimes. So I think Danny's right about the whole juicy stuff. Kind of gives us a little other side of the show we may not see.
I think that at the end of the day,
glaze over when you hear blender. I'm not even going there. Next question. Next. Okay.
I wasn't going to address it. I was just.
I did. That's the same on my hand.
The comments pop up. I mean, I don't read them all.
Next. Say that. Yeah.
But no, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that there is a lot of good that comes out of it, and trade show in terms of the content, and the reason why I know that is because I look at the numbers. People read it, people watch it. That's why we do it. So
yeah, it's gonna exactly everything's connected to a number, and next year, this is where I'm seeing the challenge with the half day going. How do you skip that boost with a company that's supported you, right, through thick and thin, right, but they don't have new products, so it's not gonna make for a sexy show. We can't do that, right?
It's true.
So something's gonna give, is what I'm telling people, and that's what's gonna be the fallout. And look, you and I have said it. They needed to get rid of that half day, but it's something you want because again, it has to change. We can't do what we're doing the same. We can't squeeze blood from a stone.
You can't. And the only I think the only people that the half day really affects is us.
It does. I mean, and I feel for the
and
the manufacturer's sitting around a booth, right? It's horrible, right? It's a yeah. We need it, but what I would have done if this was me.
I saw a lot of manufacturers sitting around in the booth this year on their phone doing nothing,
playing games, but I don't know why they don't do what TPE does, right? Have the first day be the half day. And I think it's because of the breakdown of the show, I would guess, right? But to me, that would make more sense, right? Do the half day. It's still have 3.5 days, but switch it. I would have tried that first before getting rid of the extra half day. I think that would have worked better, in my opinion. And then you could do the opening seminars in the morning before the show opens. But because I think in that case, I think people would. I don't think people would skip a whole full day. Is what I'm saying. So
That's
I don't
true.
know. I think that's what I would have tried it 1 year before punting on it. Oh, punted on, yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, TPE does what they do, and that's fine. But it's a very different show. I'd be curious to see how the next couple of shows, because I don't think it's going to be 1 year, but I think it'll take a couple of years, and just see like how that half day not being there really rolls out. Because I think a lot of people will be happy that it's still not there, but I think like outside of media, I think there's still some people who might feel like, oh well, I can't come for, all 3 days. I can only come for I think because I know there's retailers I talk to who are like, I like coming in to town on like Sunday night and going there Monday and then finishing out Tuesday and go back home because Saturday and Sunday are just too busy, and I like to go at the last like day and a half because it's a little quieter and I can make all my orders really quick and go home. I also don't have to be out of town. Regardless, like, look, they moved the trade show because people didn't want to be going in the busy season, and I think there's some truth to that. But I think that regardless of when the show is, I think there's still people who like to fly in and fly out, and they don't need to spend the whole time there. And I think there's people who like the second half of the show because it's a little bit slower and quieter, and it's easy for them to. I get in the last 2 days, bum, and I go back home. And I don't wander around the first 2 days, like only getting to half the people because we go to booths that are packed and they're busy. I don't know. We'll see.
Put yourself in the retailer position for a second here, right? There's another reason why they do that, right? They can't afford to be at the trade show 3.5 days, which is part of the problem. But I think you need the flexibility to have 3.5 days to accommodate all that.
That's part of what I was saying too.
If you're a retailer and you're walking around the trade show floor visiting booths and you ain't putting orders in, let me tell you, it's like that is like the cardinal sin, right? And I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten messages from manufacturers saying, what's up with this retailer? Why is he not putting orders in it? I said, you got to ask that retailer. But that's what happens, and it's not a trade show. Most booths are not like here to accommodate you guys to sit and have a cigar, right? Certain retailers can get away with that, right? But that is not like, that is not like it's taboo. You can't do that, right? But to your point, you may see some people who need the Saturday, Sunday thing versus the Monday, Tuesday thing, So I can see having that flexibility why you need to have but very few retailers can afford 3.5 days at the trade show.
Because I know retailers who specifically come in like Sunday, and then they fly home Tuesday night.
I know guys who come in for 1 day, right? I know one retailer who actually puts all his orders in, and guess what? He's put all his orders in, so once he's put his orders in, he can go back to those booths anytime, right? So, he gets his orders done, he gets them done, and then, if he wants to go back and hang out at the booth, they're not going to beat him up because he just put a nice, $100,000 order in, So I know people who've done that as well. So that you can get, but I can tell you that there's like one or two retailers that I know, like, and they think they go into the trade show and they think it's like for them to hang out with the No, you can't, and they're not writing any checks and they're not putting any orders in. Like it's noticed. This is a very petty industry. I've said it. This is the most petty industry. And when a retailer doesn't put an order in a booth, right, or a media guy doesn't cover a booth, right, it's like the pettiness all comes out, right? Because it's that type of industry.
Even Jay Davis, right here. I'm busy meeting with manufacturers all 3.5 days. The half day being cut will hurt me.
Like I said, if I was PCA, I would have before cutting it. I would have tried the half day at the beginning, and then if it still was dud, then you cut it. Then you try. I just think that one option should have been explored with it because I think it could have worked.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think. So I don't know if I don't think it could be done now until 2026, unfortunately. So
I think so. Like I said, I think it's gonna take a couple of shows to like shake out.
Yeah.
And then see could we have really used that half day though?
Yeah. Look,
maybe.
there are all these booths who tell me they make money the last half. Like we're writing orders till the trade show closes. We just lost that. You lost a half day of writing orders. And you're telling me you're busy. Well, if that's affecting your bottom line, then I think you need to go back to the PCA and say, look, we used to write all these orders, and now it's and by the way, and I'm not going to ask Jay. I'm not going to ask anyone to answer this question, but were the rates adjusted now for a booth? Are our dues going to be adjusted to now have let's have a half day? I doubt it, right?
If anything, they'll go up.
You know, I made my prediction. PCA's got to raise the dues, right? So, but if you're buying a boost for 3.5 days versus 3 days, right? Is there gonna be a savings now? I don't think that's gonna happen. So I think these costing issues are gonna be something they're gonna have to look at.
You have an interesting. Not to change topics here. We just have an interesting question. I'd be curious to get your take on this. If you can answer this, I know you don't drink a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But, what drink do you guys pair with Cameroon wrappers? I had the Don Carlos Robusto with a
Good
Colonel
question.
Taylor at the lounge tonight, and I feel like I should have gone with something else. Well, that Don Carlos, that's got a lot of flavor to it. That's a mouthful, I can tell you.
Yeah.
A bourbon is good. Usually with a fuller cigar, I like a bourbon because a bourbon can kind of fill in that mouthfeel. I mean, if I went with something on the milder side, sometimes the bourbon can like overpower that. Having said that, I think it depends on the bourbon. Colonel Taylor, if it's the small batch, that has a lot of sweet undertones to it, but it's also like a fuller bodied flavor. I think it pairs well with that. If that really didn't work out for you, trying to think off the top of my head. I haven't really been drinking bourbon lately. My mind's not as crisp with it. Coop, do you drink any whiskey at all?
Yeah, I have a whiskey collection. I don't do a lot of pairing. I'll be honest with you. But I do sometimes. Now, I would a Cameroon, and I love a black coffee with Cameroon because an unsweetened black coffee, no cream.
To go the other
I
way,
just
yeah.
find that bitter component doesn't offset what I'm doing with the Cameroon, the sweetness I'm getting from the Cameroon. So I kind of go that way. You could have a straight vodka if that's your thing. I know it's not everyone's thing. That's not bad either. But yeah, the black coffee I find really balances that nice. Matt, I'm just gonna trip the switch here because I just noticed my timer went off. So give me a second. I got to go.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, talk.
Yeah, I mean, I that's what I would do with it. However, I mean, if I don't know, what was it? What was it that made you feel like you should have gone with something else? I mean, you could go on the lighter side. You could go with. I mean, if Coop mentioned the coffee, but I mean, if you're trying to stick with alcohol, if you go on the lighter side, I mean, maybe rum. I would say maybe I would pair like a nice rum with that. Because that's kind of my other go-to. If I'm not in a whiskey mood, I'd go maybe try a rum, much sweeter, probably not as high in proof. Some bourbons, especially nowadays, it's hot. It's hot. A lot of them are hot these days. I saw someone mention here Woodford Double Oaked. I'm not a fan of the Double Oaked, but I would say I know how it tastes. I would say that one probably would perform well with the Don Carlos, in my opinion. I just feel like the two kind of go together. But my alternative, if you want to try something really different, I don't know if you drink a lot of rums, I would maybe go for a good rum. Not like Captain Morgan, like a Brugal or Zacapa 23, something like that. I would try it. That's kind of for me. And then we still have Jay Davis. High-end cognac or Madeira goes well with Cameroon. There you go. There's a good one. Thanks, Jay. I'm also kind of going back and looking at
Cognac does go good.
Say that again.
Cognac does go good with it.
Oh yeah.
Actually, it was funny. My circuit breaker let me trip, so I had to go reset it.
Yeah, no worries.
That's why I had no power. I noticed the power thing was down to nothing. What's going on here? Okay.
So I'm gonna circle back a little bit. Jay responded to what you said. Booth spaces are like parking in New York City. You pay for the first hour, the rest is basically free. That's Jay's response to that question.
I kind of understand that. Okay. That makes sense. I see that. I can kind of see that, yeah. And I think you have to, I get that. But do you adjust the first hour or do you prorate it? That's the answer I'm getting it's not being prorated. Which I'm not criticizing it, but...
Yeah, Zacapa is, when it comes to rum, Zacapa is one of my favorites. I've been known to drink that a lot of times. It's one that I really enjoy. If I'm at a lounge, I'm at a bar, and I'm in a rum mood, it's one of my first asks. And more bars are carrying it now. which is nice because I like it. But if they don't have it, I'll go somewhere else. But that's usually one of the first ones I'll ask for, and then I kind of go down the line from there. But yeah, Zacapa 23 it's a great pour. It's really good. It's really smooth, sweet. If that's your thing, I would definitely go for that. Sorry, I was gonna go back. Yeah, Alan had said I had a retailer that flies in one night, goes to the show for one day, places a bunch of orders, and leaves that night. He's on the floor for 8 hours only and spends at least $100,000. Yeah, I mean, and to his point, that's true. There's a few people who do that. But like Coop, you were saying before, you know, actually no, maybe this isn't what you were saying, but I know people who kind of do a lot of their legwork before they get to the show, and then they just have to show up. They meet
hand
up,
in the order form,
and they just kind of do light work. They shake hands, and then they leave, which I think is what a lot of people do. And you know, a lot of big manufacturers have now gone the route of, and this is kind of another debate topic we could get into, but there's a lot of like big manufacturers who offer a lot of their deals and specials before the show happens, and then you get to the trade show and a lot of those orders have already been placed. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can kind of go with that. You could argue like, well, you know, it takes away from the show, but then at the same time, it's like, well, you get all your big stuff out of the way, and then you get time to do a lot of other manufacturers because you don't have to spend 3 hours at like Davidoff. Not that they don't go anymore, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's like instead of spending that 3 hours, like you already placed your order there. Now you can spend the 3 hours with like 6 other booths that are much smaller.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a case-by-case basis, and I think it also, a lot of it comes down to large retailers and small retailers. You know, Jay is a small retailer. You know, Jay also really likes to network with people and really likes to get. He's not one of those people who walks in and is like, "Tell me about, well, Elizabeth, yeah, fuck it, just send me like 20 boxes." You know, no, you know, Jay will take the time, and this, especially on the smaller retailer side, you're a little bit more cautious with what they buy and what they bring in, which is totally understandable. Yeah, they like to take the time. So I'm not surprised that Jay would say that, hey, you know, that half day, that actually hurts me a little bit. Someone like
I think
Garofalo or like Jeff Warshowitz, I don't think it really bothers them that much because they're operating at such a higher level. I don't think they need that half day.
I think BCA is going to get hit with this one harder. Because I saw a lot of activity there day 3. I can't say day 4 I wasn't there, but you know, it's just gonna be because those are booths I think where you want to go introduce yourself. And a lot of guys told me that they didn't get orders, but you know, it started the ball rolling with a relationship. You know, so I think, you know, maybe they weren't planning on putting an order in, but it could lead to something down the road.
Yeah.
So.
Well, anyway, I'm looking at the time.
We went way late.
We're really late, and my fatigue's starting to set in.
Phillies won again, by the way. Just a footnote.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Oh, they're we played the 2 worst managers in baseball this week, so you know when that happens, we better win games. So.
And the Yankees lost again. What a surprise!
The Yankees are 19 games out of first place, 5 games under 500, and. You know, now you're looking at the wild card, Matt, with the Yankees. They are 10 games out of the wild card. I think I'm getting close to putting the done label on them.
You're getting close? Yeah. You're getting close? Coop, you should have been done last week.
Usually, Labor Day, I give you a chance to get to 8 games before Labor Day. But the problem is this year, I probably am going to put the done is, Texas is in free fall right now, but it's disastrous. It's embarrassing. These are the Yankees. I mean, but we beat I actually, you know, as much as I beat on Kapler, I think Oliver Marmol's the worst manager in baseball, and I don't know how he won as many games as he did last year, but he's awful. The Cardinals situation is so much worse than the Yankees situation. It's not funny. The Cardinals are 12 games out of the wild card with a .431 winning percentage. These are Cardinals. Like, the Cardinals are the most, you know, they have such a history in the NL. The Cardinals, this is disgraceful. That's what I was to say.
So this is what's interesting.
Yep.
Actually, we're gonna do a little bit of baseball talk. I mean, if you have the time, we'll do a little bit.
Yeah, then let's wrap it up after that, though, please. Yeah, because I brought it up, so I'm not gonna stop you.
And I'll make it brief. It's really one thing I want to say. But to answer Charles, if you're talking about the Garofalo branded cigar, yeah, it's pretty good.
The two of them, the Garofalo and the Familiar, are both really good.
Yeah.
Those are Perdomos. Those are great Perdomo blends he's got. Yeah.
I was just gonna say they're Perdomos. I mean, you
great Perdomos, great cigars. Yeah, I love them both.
Look, even Allen said the Yankees are done. You know it's bad when even Allen's like out in the open being like the Yankees are done. That's how you know the Yankees should be embarrassed when Alan Rubin's not like nowhere to be found on the Yankees discussion when he's like, yeah.
No, he has. I'm gonna give him credit. He has not hidden from the Yankees this year. He is not. There's things I'll get on Allen about. That is not one of them. He has been very. I think he should have listened to me last year on my advice. I said I had an opinion that the Yankees should have cleaned house last year. But okay, he hasn't hidden. I have no problem with that. He is not hidden.
And it's funny because then he follows up and he says, "Don't laugh, Coop." We won't laugh. It's funny.
It's sad. It's sad. It's sad that the Yankees aren't competing. It's embarrassing. These are the Yankees. Pride, tradition. Where's pride and tradition? That's it's an embarrassment. And what you're charging for tickets up there, and to put that garbage on the field is embarrassing. Last place? Come on.
Honestly, if the Red Sox go on like a good 10-game winning streak,
the Red Sox are only 3.5 games out though.
From the wild card.
And if Texas completely will fall apart, then it's interesting.
I wouldn't say they're out. Yeah. I don't think they're out yet. I think if they finish the season really strong, they could have a shot.
The Yankees win 10 in a row, right? Which I'm not saying is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
There's gonna be. I'll tell you what, they'll be in a discussion at that point. But they'd have to do something Herculean at this point to make it happen.
Now, what I was going to say about baseball, I think that it's time to move on from Brian Cashman. I mean, he's had the reins for a long time, and
they should have did it last year. Yeah, but they should have did it last year. They had the chance. They gave him 4 years, Matt.
I know, but I think that there's a truth to complacency, and I think it's time to get someone new. I hear a lot of people talking about Derek Jeter. I don't know if I actually see him being the GM of the Yankees, though.
No, he would be. They'd probably put him in a president role, and they'd have a guy under him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They need to do something. The problem is this with Cashman. I mean,
I think Boone gets fired. Season's over. I think Boone's fired.
There are people that he's coming back, which is, he should. Last year, Boone should have been. It was hard to fire Boone. I get it, right? But you gave Cashman 4 years. So I don't know how people didn't see this coming last year. But what they did is the Yankees have a very fragile base, right? They're too injury prone, right? You can't win with that. It catches up with you at some point, right? And then you hear the Yankee excuses with injury. Well, you have a fragile base. You should have adjusted that. Cashman made no moves. He rewarded all these guys. I'm not talking about Judge, right? But these other guys, I'm like, come on, these guys. There should have been guys that were moved. There should have been major moves made because you were nowhere near the Houston Astros last. You were uncompetitive against the Houston Astros. So, maybe you make Brian Cashman like president of the team, but you take baseball operations away from him. I don't know. I mean, that's maybe an option. I will say there's Ken Williams is out there from the White Sox. Very experienced guy. He may need a change of pace. I don't think they'll go with Ken Williams. I think they'll do something like you said. I think it would be, you bring Jeter in, it's like a PR machine, right? Wow, Derek Jeter's back. He's running the Yankees, right? And then hopefully Derek Jeter finds the right guy to be the GM. And, it's suddenly a new coat of paint. You let the new GM then pick the manager. That's an ideal scenario. it's a PR. The best thing happened PR wise to the Yankees if they did that.
I agree.
I'm not saying it's the best option. Yeah.
I think PR wise, it's a big deal. Now here's another one, my last point, but I got to fire it out of cannon here. Jerry Reinsdorf needs to sell the White Sox and the Bulls if those two teams are going to win a championship again.
I don't believe that.
Really?
You need to stop. You need to. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. What has he done as an owner that's failed those teams? Would be my question. He made the move. Ken Williams should have been gone after last year and after the Tony La Russa debacle. The Bulls. Yeah.
I mean, they haven't done shit since Jordan left. They've been like nobody.
Yeah, I don't. Who's GMing the Bulls right now? It's not Paxson. It's someone else now. You brought in Billy Donovan, who was supposed to be the savior, like Billy the Kid. That team, yeah.
Let me look.
Maybe.
Mark Eversley.
But here's what I'll just. Yeah, but here's what I'll say about that, right? And I see where you're going with that, because both teams haven't won in decades, right? Multiple decades. It doesn't always work out. Look at the Mets.
Yeah, I know. It's true.
So it's all about who you bring in. Like, I think the best sale of a team that I ever saw in my lifetime was when Donald Carter sold the Mavericks to Mark Cuban. That was the best thing that happened to that franchise. And Mark Cuban has, if anything, he's not a radical owner. He's a very stable owner. He's got good basketball people, and he's won a championship. I think they took a step back this year, but sometimes an ownership change, you got to get a guy who's a visionary. And you got to so first thing, if you're an owner, take this analytics stuff. Take a garbage can and every piece of analytics and burn it. It doesn't work. You don't win with analytics anymore like you used to. You can't build dynasties with analytics anymore. Burn this stuff. And that's the for these owners just have to get off this analytics crap in all the sports. The Phillies learned that lesson with Kapler, believe me. Take what I said about Kapler out of there. They learned that lesson that they could not be totally analytics driven. They took a step back. They still have some analytics in their organization, but they took a step back after that. And look at what's happened. We got a World Series run last year.
So here's an interesting comment. This is what I was gonna rebuttal back to you. Danny said,
Danny's got some good stuff tonight, man. I got to say this. Yeah, I agree with this. Yeah.
Sun-Times did a great piece on Reinsdorf this month, calling out the inaction of Reinsdorf, essentially saying that he had failed by leaving the shop unattended. And I think that's.
I agree.
Where I'm going.
That's a valid point. Yeah, I think that's why. Again, I think Hal Steinbrenner is guilty of that too.
Yeah, he's not his father.
His father would have cleared house. He would have had Brian Sabian running this team last year.
If his father was around 4 years ago, that place would have been wiped out.
Oh, yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton would have been traded, gone.
Oh man,
Giancarlo
Stanton would be. He would have went. I loved when George was in New York. When George, you always heard this thing. Expect to hear George erupt any minute. Like you just waited for it to happen, right? And he would not have given Cashman 4 years. And by the way, if he gave Cashman 4 years, he would have gone already. He would have cleared house. He would have had 2 or 3 managers in already by this point. I remember the year the Yankees decided they were going to bring in speed. So they bring in guys like I think that's when they brought in Ken Griffey and Dave Collins, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster, right? And Steinbrenner cleared out. He fired the GM. He fired the guy who won the got into the World Series the year before. And then he fired Stick Michael. It was just 2 firings in a year. Steinbrenner would never put up with this garbage. He's rolling over in his grave right now in this stuff.
Alan made a good point here, actually. You got to give it to him when he makes a good point. Red Sox built their championships with analytics. They did.
2004. Matt, 2004 was analytics.
They
win with it. That wasn't analytics.
Well, not 2004. But they had started to use Billy Beane's model, but with the bigger checkbook that Billy Beane didn't have. I will say, 2004.
You gonna say 2018? I don't even think 2000.
No, but maybe 07, 13.
What's happened now? But look what's happened now. It doesn't. You can't. My comment was you can't build a dynasty with that. That was my comment. That wasn't a dynasty. It was 3. They got caught lightning in a ball a few times. You can't build a dynasty with analytics. It doesn't work. I probably got 1,000 comments now coming from Alan on this.
What was I would say in 2004, 2004, I think like Theo came in and like made some moves, but you have to remember the base of the 2004 Red Sox team. A lot of those guys who are on that roster when they won that first World Series,
right?
That was built by Dan Duquette. Dan Duquette brought in Manny Ramirez, Pedro.
Right.
He brought those guys in. And then Theo took over and had a lot of those guys. And, yeah, he made the trade for Nomar at the deadline. And, you know, he brought in Schilling, which, looking back, yeah, I mean, that worked. Long term, no, but they got the job done in 2004. But so I think Theo gets a little bit of credit. But I think Dan Duquette deserves more credit for the 2004 team than Theo.
Yeah.
Because he was the one building the foundation.
Right. Now I go to 2018. Who was the GM for 2018?
Dave Dombrowski.
He's not a dynamo. He embraces some part. That's what I'm saying. That was not built with analytics. With that, is what I'm saying. He embraces some analytics philosophy. That's why they brought him into the Phillies, because he was kind of this hybrid guy, where, you know, I think the Yankees have been totally ruled by analytics. I think Cashman's bought into it like big time, and that's when his failure has been when he started buying into this stuff. Because, you know, at some point he was handed that team, don't forget, from Bob Watson and Stick Michael when he won those early ones. That was all Bob Watson and Stick Michaels building that team over the years. Yeah, they got all those players in there.
Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. No, I agree.
Yeah.
By the way, Mavs did a lot with analytics as well.
In 2011? When they won.
I'm just read the comments.
That would be my question back. I can't say 2011 it was an analytics-driven team. You want to say last year was analytics-driven? I totally buy it, maybe. Yeah. Like, what team has built a dynasty with analytics? There's not a lot I can name. Like the Patriots didn't build it with analytics. They were the last dynasty, and the Warriors didn't build it with analytics, I don't think. Right? Those are the two dynasties that come to mind in sports for me.
I think
you haven't had a baseball dynasty.
Stand very alone. They're a very unique situation.
Yeah. But the Warriors, I think, are the other dynasty that I've seen in the last 15 years in basketball, and they really didn't work with. I don't think they work with it. Now I do agree the Mavericks had analytics the last few years a lot more, but they haven't gotten further with it.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. I haven't seen that team go and win multiple championships, and that's why What about the Astros? Are they an analytics team? Would you say? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
That could be the closest one, and I think where it's worked. We could say it worked. That's the closest I would say to an analytics situation that I've seen being very successful.
Anyway, look, it's getting late. I want to wrap up the show. We're going over 3.5 hours. It's almost 1 in the morning.
4 hours. Yeah, I'm tired. Yep.
I'm tired too.
All right. Thanks to everyone hung in there. Thanks for all the comments and everyone participating.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Same goes for me. Coop, I appreciate you hanging in there too.
Yep.
It's been a good night, but yeah, we're gonna wrap up the show here. It's just it's late. So thank you guys for listening, following along. Don't forget to visit smokingtobacco.com for more news, reviews, and updates from the cigar industry. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Download our episodes, listen to them. Make sure you subscribe, Apple, Google, Spotify. Subscribe to the podcast. And we'll see you on Wednesday night. Take care, guys.
Take care.